Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
And welcome in to Hangin with Hester and Hanny. We get horns like that, we ought to get a contract too.
I like that. It's like, hey, we're here. Here we come.
I'm going to call Lee Steinberg because you want to talk about comebacks for the agent for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, that guy was bankrupt. He was in rehab, and he came back with a vengeance. I'm Charles Hanagriff. He's Jacob Hester, and neither one of us are Patrick Mahomes, which means we're not considerably poor. Cade Wazan, Paul O'Neill here in studio, and you know the news that is captured. This hit during yesterday's show that the deal was coming down, and Mahomes was going to sign for 10 years. What we didn't have was the number details at that time.
All right.
So we guessed, we guessed between 450 and 470, and we guessed guaranteed somewhere between 250 and 300. So how do we do? In my opinion, we were okay, but this deal is like the biggest onion you've ever seen because it's just got layer after layer. But one of the things I've learned about NFL contracts that you can speak to, I think, specifically is that what you see is not what you get. Yeah. When Mike Trout signs a contract, he gets everything, okay? And I'm talking just about baseball players in general. Right. He's just the highest paid one. When LeBron James signs his contract, what you see is what you get. When you sign an NFL contract, what you see is not what you get. And they've got this nice, gaudy $503 million, okay? It's $500 million. I mean, it's got a nice ring to it, right?
And very rarely do you see the end of that contract. Do you see all the dollars and cents? Now, the guaranteed money, that's actually kind of new, too, all the guaranteed money. Typically, like we talked about Drew Bledsoe's deal yesterday, right? It's a $100 million deal, the first one to ever get it, 10 years, $103 million. He only got $8 million to sign. Yeah. Like in today's NFL, I mean, he's getting, what, $75 million of that guaranteed or whatever it might be. It's not $8 million to sign that contract. I think he had $6 million as far as insurance in that contract. So it's completely changed in the NFL. It used to be much worse. Even when I played, I mean, 7 years ago, it was different. Now they're getting a little bit more guaranteed, but like you said, it's not all guaranteed. If Mike Trout signs this deal, well, his bank account's going to, $503 million is what it's going to get. Well, after taxes. We can talk tax laws the whole show.
Well, right, and California's a little bit different.
Trust me, I know about that
yes,
one.
you can speak to that. All right, so what are the chances that this contract is executed exactly the way it was written yesterday? And by the way, to get over $500 million, he's got to be the MVP multiple times and all that. But what are the chances that this contract plays out like it was written yesterday through 2031?
A lot of players, I'd say there's no chance. There's no chance that everything's going to hit, right? All the escalators, all the incentives, all the things are going to hit. Patrick Mahomes is a little bit different. Because of his age, because of what he's already done, because of his skill set, he's one of the few players that I can actually see living up to this contract, getting everything out of it, making it a good deal for not only Patrick Mahomes, but for the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, they've got a young offense. They know how to supply the talent around him. They've got a mold of receivers. They've got a mold of running backs. They have a mold at tight end that they know works really well with Patrick Mahomes. And as crazy as it sounds, if anybody can do it, I believe in Patrick Mahomes to be that guy that can live up to it and live out the length of the contract.
There is zero chance, in my opinion, that this contract will play out exactly the way it is. One of two things will happen, and the
Zero's low.
Zero's low. The first one is much more likely that they will get to a point in this contract where it no longer makes sense for either the player or the club, and they'll redo it. It could have to do it could have to do with Kansas City's salary cap ramifications, that they will want to restructure the contract, that they will want to put more into bonuses so that they can spread it out. It may very well have to do with the percentage of the cap when some of the TV deals come up in 2025, roughly the halfway point in this deal. There is the outside possibility that Patrick Mahomes will drop off or that he will sustain some type of injury, but guaranteed money. So the guaranteed money comes in at about at $1.41, And you start talking about that as its percentage to the salary cap and new money that he's got in this deal compared to the last couple of contracts that have been signed, which were Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. All right, so Wentz came in at 13.7%. Goff came in at 14.3%. Mahomes came in at 15.4%. Yep. He's better than them. The money's escalating. It was $128 million in new salary for Wentz, $134 for Goff, and it's $155 for Mahomes. That's why this makes this a deal that is good for the Kansas City Chiefs as well as Mahomes. His salary cap number for next year is virtually identical. Right. And the one for 2021 has almost no difference. I think it's 5.3%. The thing that is most unique about this contract is the double guaranteed years after the original guarantee goes up. Now, what do I mean by that? The first 4 years of this deal, the new deal that starts next year, are guaranteed. That's the $141 million plus what you're getting this year. But starting in that 2024 season, he is guaranteed 2 years in advance.
Right.
That's never been done before. Every other person in the league that signed a contract like this, including Wentz and Goff and Russell Wilson, you have that original guarantee, the money that you're definitely going to get over the lifetime of the contract. And after that guaranteed money runs out, then you are year to year. Now, most of the agents, the smart agents, will make your money guaranteed very, very early in the league year, in March. Okay?
Yep.
So that way the team can't hold on to you for a while and then cut you later on, and you don't have a chance to catch on with another team. But they guarantee the next year.
Right.
They don't guarantee two. They're guaranteeing two. See, for instance, Larry Warford had a contract that allowed the Saints to keep him until May.
Right.
Well, he would have really, if he wants to play, and Warford may retire, but if he wanted to play, he should have had that in his contract to where he got, if you're going to cut me, you got to cut me in March. If not, you got to pay me my money.
Right.
Okay. Well, Mahomes' deal runs 2 years out in advance. That's never been done before in a contract of this magnitude. So I found that very interesting. The other thing that caught everybody's attention is when he hits 31 at 2027, he is due $60 million.
Yep. 2027 is the big year in this deal.
And it almost certainly will never get to that. The way that it's drawn up now, this deal will be redone and redone. A better over-under would be not what percentage it is that this deal will go through the way it is written yesterday. It is how many times between now and 2031 are they going to redo it?
And I was talking more about, could he live up to half, $1 billion? I think he can be that player, but I agree with you as far as it's got to change. It will change because you don't want to handcuff your front office. You don't want to say, hey, you've got to give me all of this money. You can't go out and you can't sign players. That's why you see the great quarterbacks restructure their deal. Now, you've got some turds out there, Charlie, that, hey, I'm not giving you any of my money back, and we're just going to be a bad football team. I remember the Broncos went back and forth with Jay Cutler about an extension. They couldn't agree, and so he ended up going to the Chicago Bears because they were like, hey, we've got to have some money left over from our other star players. And so you've got some kind of quarterbacks that just won't do it. Patrick Mahomes, to me, he's a guy that will do it. At some point, they'll restructure this deal for the better roster of the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I agree with you there, but this is a guy that I think can live up to the hype and, all the dollars and cents of this new deal. And another part of this is a lot of people are asking me, why does someone kind of split their signing bonus up? Well, that's because of tax brackets as well, right? When you put it into 1 year, well, if you split it over 3 or 4 years, well, you pay different taxes on that. It's not all hitting you at once. And so the federal government doesn't get as much money in that signing bonus. Even somebody as small as my signing bonus was, we, did it over 2 years. That way California couldn't take as much money, through that first signing bonus.
And you are also taxed in other states that you
Every
play
state
in.
that you play in, you're taxed.
Right. So it's not you don't use TurboTax. You got to call a guy, right? I mean, it's not easy.
I do not use TurboTax. That's right.
Okay. So the other part of this is, what does it do to the quarterback landscape, and what does it do to Dak Prescott? I think that this puts Prescott in a really good spot. It doesn't. It actually puts the Cowboys in a decent spot too, because Mahomes' money over the next 2 years is not ridiculous. The ridiculous is way down the road. So if Prescott wants the the really ridiculous money, he's got to sign a long-term deal, which is what Dallas wants anyway.
Right.
They'd rather sign him to a 5 or 6 year deal than a 4-year deal. So it's going to be, do you want the 4-year deal for the amount of money that is at the high end of the average, or do you want the full money, but we're going to spread it out over 5 or 6 years?
What do you think this does for Dak Prescott? Because as I look at this, I understand where the Cowboys are. Hey, there's only so many quarterbacks in the NFL that are worth anything, right? You don't have 32 quarterbacks that are worth anything. You got about, at top end, you've got 15 quarterbacks that team feels so strongly about that they know they're moving forward with that quarterback. So I understand how hard it is to get that guy. But Dak Prescott does not have the resume that Patrick Mahomes has. He has not won a Super Bowl, right? He has not thrown for the yards. Now, Dak Prescott is a nice football player. There's no question about that. Can he win you football games? He can. But I don't think Dak Prescott's team can go out there and say, we want Patrick Mahomes money. We want this money. We want, whatever guy went before Patrick Mahomes. That's the kind of money that we want. You've still got to build up your resume. And I don't think you can go into the negotiating table and say, we want this deal, because as nice as a player as Dak Prescott is, they are still trying to get into the postseason, trying to win games. They haven't even sniffed a Super Bowl yet, Hanny. Mahomes has been there, and he's won one already. Mahomes is setting records as far as yards and touchdowns and all of these different things and MVPs. Dak's not in that class yet. And for some reason, people are putting him in that class to get this kind of money. And I understand, going back to the point, if you've got a quarterback you feel good about, you've got to lock them up. I'm not saying you don't lock up Dak Prescott. I think you do. But not anywhere close to the money that Patrick Mahomes is getting.
Well, close to the money Mahomes is getting overall, or close to the money Mahomes is getting in the near term? Because Prescott does have one thing over Mahomes. He's been in the league longer, and so he's a little bit further down the line. My guess is that Mahomes is going to make less money than Prescott over the next 4 years. Over the terms of the entire contract, over the career, no, it's Mahomes by a long shot.
4 years might be all Dak Prescott can give you, right? I mean, we don't know how long he can give you. You're right. He has been in the league longer. Maybe over 4 years he does make over $40 million a year, but not anywhere close to the 10-year contract, and not even because of the years. I'm just talking about the skill set and different things that Mahomes can give you that really no other quarterback in the NFL right now can give you.
Prescott's got to make a decision. He and his team have to make a decision. And when I'm talking about his team, I'm talking about his negotiating team, not the Cowboys. Do you want $40 million a year? Okay, if you're dead set on that number, then we can sign you to a $160 million 4-year deal. Okay, and then you can take your chances on the next 4 years, what the next contract looks like. Or you can put a deal together for, say, $190 million over 5 years, or $210 million, $220 million over 6 years, and then then that deal starts to look a little bit like this one in terms of structure. More of the money is down the road. They're trying to keep the cap, but he's got to. How much do you want per year? How much do you want overall? And how much of that is guaranteed? And to a lesser extent, Deshaun Watson's got to make the same decision.
Hey, forget all this conversation. I want to know what Island Hanny would do as soon as he signed that deal yesterday.
Island Hanny's not allowed to make any financial decisions.
I want to know, as soon as the ink hit the paper, what Island Hanny was going to do. Who's he calling? Where is he going? What cold pops in his hand? That's what I really need to know.
You know what? I'd like to give you a responsible answer here, but I've never had anywhere close to this amount of money and never will. Unless 6 numbers come up.
Do you just walk out of the house, though? Like whatever house you're currently in, you just walk out of it and you'll figure it out later.
No, I'm not that loosey-goosey about it.
If you got $500 million.
Yeah, $500 million. For any NFL player that has any kind of marketability at all, you're going to think this is nuts. I love the Gronkowski model. If what he said was true, and it appears to be true, that Gronkowski spent the 10 years he was with the Patriots and never spent any of his salary, and lived off of his endorsements, and Gronk made enough. Now, everybody in the NFL can't do that because everybody's not getting enough endorsement dollars. But if you're Patrick Mahomes and you say, here, at 24 years of age, for the next 5 years, my salary is going into something, a trust, generational wealth. I'm not going to touch that. I'll just live off of my endorsements, and my lifestyle won't change one bit. Right. Well, not one bit. And maybe you do that over 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever, and you're sitting there at 31, 33, whatever, and you've got generational wealth, okay? Your kids, grandkids, forever. That's a wonderful thing to be able to say. You put that kind of money in anybody's hands. And Gronkowski, I think, banked $65 million over his career in salary and never spent any of it.
I've actually seen one of my former teammates, Craig Stelz, do something that was very similar. And Craig didn't have endorsement deals and all this stuff, but what Craig did is, he tried to live off his initial signing bonus for as long as he could, and he tried to put all of his salary. And Craig played 7 years in the NFL, so he got a pretty good salary. And he even had a roommate. He was married, and him and Hanny and Caleb Hanny's wife, they all lived together, right? So you had two couples living together in an apartment in Chicago to save money. Craig still had the same Dodge truck that he had here at LSU, and that's the way that he wanted to go about his life. He wanted to put all his money for as long as he could into the bank and have something when he retired, and that's why Craig's very successful. And the transition for Craig was very easy. It's not always easy for a lot of NFL players.
That's what I'd like to tell you. Now, what would I probably do? I'd probably be spending money like nobody's business.
That's what I want to hear. Island Hanny. I don't want to hear Charles
That's
Hanagriff.
why he's not allowed to make any of these deals. Got a big show for you. Oleh Kosel, the Bird Rights, will be with us. We're talking Pelicans next. The Pels take off for Orlando tomorrow. Hunt Palmer is with us in the second hour today. Chris Doering is with us in the third hour today. We're going to talk SEC receivers with him. All part of the show today. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanny.
GMFS Mortgage, GMFSmortgage.com. Right here during phase 2, a lot of people are looking to free up a little bit of cash, maybe a little bit extra to help you get through this time. Well, a refi would make a lot of sense right now because you're going to get the best rates that, well, really at any time in history. It's a very easy process to start with a counselor from GMFSmortgage.com. You give them some information. They'll lay out all of your options, and from there all the way to the closing, they make it extremely simple for you to do. Or if you're in the market for a new home, this might be the interest rates that just get that done for you and get you into the home that you've always wanted. Do what I did. Do what thousands of others have done. When they talk about changing lives, they're talking about changing your monthly budget, and they're certainly going to do that for you as they've done for me. Start your journey today at GMFSmortgage.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, Your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
1130 The Tiger.
Remember, you can always watch us on CST, Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, 1045 ESPN. Charles Hanagriff along with Jacob Hester. We're joined now by Oleh Kosel, covering the New Orleans Pelicans for thebirdrights.com. Oleh, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys. I'm doing well. How about yourselves?
Doing fantastic. The Pels will take off tomorrow for Orlando, get into the bubble, and begin preparations for the resumption of the season. Oleh, I'm not gonna bury the lead here. When the pictures of Zion Williamson surfaced over the weekend, the only thing anybody could say was, wow. We knew that he had been allowed access to the building, special permission from the NBA. He wasn't the only one, but he was the one we were paying attention to. And he is in what appears to be phenomenal shape heading into this restart.
Right. He's exactly where you want to see him considering his history, right? The injury history, especially that knocked him out of 44 games. And, you know, he, even though he played 19 games, put up those stellar numbers, which is on pace to be the best ever in the scoring department, 23.6 points a game for any 19-year-old that's ever played the game, he still was never at 100%. He told us that several times. And so with him having now these 4 months off, you've got to think that extra conditioning work is going to pay off. So there's a reason why everybody's excited, because he looks incredible. And when we've seen what this guy can do when he's not at full strength, can you imagine what he can do when he's 100%?
Ollie, I'm curious about the team chemistry of the Pelicans, because I really felt like when the shutdown happened, they had figured it out. They had started to play so well together. Zion Williamson had really integrated himself into the lineup, and it was really seamless. And you didn't have the effects of putting a new guy into the lineup, and it was something that you could see that had been building all season long. Is that kind of one of the big worries, is can they keep that chemistry that they built up throughout the season?
Yeah, I think absolutely, because they started off the year, there was a lot of guys that went out if they weren't already starting the season out, like Zion. But once they got Derek Favors back in about the middle of December, they really went on a nice roll, winning 22 games, losing only 14, and really put themselves in a position where they are now. But everybody, of course, is more hopeful because of how well that starting unit played. They really dominated opponents when you look at just the numbers statistically. They were one of the best starting lineups in the league. So that's the problem. Can these guys bring back some of that magic after this 4-month layoff? And you've got to think, there's some guys like Lonzo Ball who was playing the best ball of his life, especially for the younger guys like him. Can he suddenly pick it back up? And so I don't think we should have expectations they can, get right back in the swing of things. But the chances are they've all been conditioning. I've heard nothing but positives on that end. And these guys, they're motivated. I don't hear so much about the other teams being as exciting. We're seeing other teams lose certain playoffs or players for whatever reason. But so far with the Pelicans, there are no concerns. This core is excited and should be all ready to go for Orlando, knock on wood.
Yeah, Ali, speaking of being able to go for Orlando, let's talk about, let me get a COVID update from you, because we had 3 players, they never named them, from the Pels that tested positive, although they did not have to shut their facility down as 7 teams did. We know that Jeff Bezerick is not going to make the trip, but he will be coaching from New Orleans. And Alvin Gentry has got to, because he is 65, has to receive permission from an NBA-approved doctor to make this trip. So we're waiting on that information. What's your best call on how full strength the Pels will be when they start?
Provided nothing new arises between now and the start of games, I'm expecting almost all the guys to be there. And you're right, there was 3 cases that tested positive on the very first day of NBA testing last month, June 23rd. And so we don't have results yet, and we probably won't know until the team gets to Orlando, and we'll see who's not there. Because as David Griffin reiterated to us last week, HIPAA privacy laws prevent him from providing names. The players themselves have to come out and give that consent. So we have seen which players have been in the training camp, in these individual practices over last week. So we've got a pretty good idea on who definitely doesn't have it because they've been there working out. It's the guys that haven't been there, right, that raise concerns. There's been about 4 or 5 guys that have not made an appearance yet. So you got to think it's amongst those guys. But none of them are, regular rotation members. Outside of maybe Jackson Hayes. He might be the only one that I'm a little concerned that they won't have the services of. But again, we won't know until they're in Orlando.
Ollie, what's the latest on Jj Redick? Obviously, he's one of the leaders of this team, probably the biggest leader on this team. He's played a lot of basketball in the NBA. He's made the playoffs every single year. We know that storyline. And, he said that there's no comfort level right now in returning to the season, but it seems like he will be there and be that voice of leadership, though.
Yeah, and it's great for this team to have a voice like that because in years past, we haven't seen that. So when the team would go in a tailspin or just have an issue or two, there was really nobody that stepped forward to try and get the team back on track. As to where this year, they survived that 13-game losing streak, and I think that surprised almost everybody. And since the downtime, the suspension of the play, Jj Redick has been very outspoken on all sorts of fronts. So I think that's just going to be great for the young guys. I mean, the starting lineup has 3 guys, 22 or younger. So they need to have somebody like that. And like I said, Jj Redick has mentioned that he's very committed to the team, and he feels necessary to basically do this on behalf of the NBA, his responsibility to represent not only the team but the league. So like I said, he's a godsend. I'll be honest with you. Drew Holiday's that quiet, great leader, but JJ's that outspoken voice that this locker team really needs. And I think he'll help. He'll definitely help those young guys in Orlando.
Ollie, when the schedules came out, there was a lot of smiling faces among Pelicans fans because of the purported ease of the schedule. And this is based on the team's records. But here's what I'm wondering. Teams that have already clinched playoff berths, how are they going to approach these games, especially from a minutes standpoint for their stars? For instance, the Lakers had both LeBron James and Anthony Davis average 34 minutes a game. The Lakers have nothing to play for here. There's no home court. They would have gotten home court anyway. There's no home court. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard averaged 32 minutes a game. For the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic averaged 32 minutes a game and went off and got sick. For Utah, both Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert averaged 34 minutes a game. None of those teams really have very much to play for in this 8-game sprint to the playoffs. So I'm wondering, how can we gauge schedules when we don't know how coaches are going to handle minute restrictions?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Too many people made a big deal about the ease of schedule that they released for those 8 seeding games. And you're right. Even David Griffin mentioned that to us right off the bat. You got to throw it out the window. You've got to treat this as the start of a regular season because these guys have been off for so long. And to top it off, what you just mentioned probably is what I think every playoff coach should be approaching these 8 games, right? You have to basically treat this as a longer training camp. These guys only have 2 weeks of a real training camp, then 3 scrimmage games, and then jump right into action. That's not enough time from everybody I've talked to and we've seen in years past. So I'm honestly expecting, even though the Pelicans start off right off with the Utah Jazz and the Clippers, their 2 toughest matchups, I really think we won't get their best shot. They're going to probably follow what Coach Pop always likes to do. You just got to ramp it up slowly. You want to avoid injury, but build it up slowly in terms of the minutes for their best players. So I honestly think the Pelicans, I don't know how Alvin's going to run his rotations because, let's face it, he's going to be as must-win with each game in his approach. But for the rest of the guys, you're right. The rest of the teams, that is, the playoff teams that are already in, you can't expect them to go all out. So this may be a blessing in disguise for the Pelicans.
Well, Ollie, I think it helps the younger basketball teams as well because I know for me playing in the NFL, with each and every year, it got harder and harder to get ready for the season. And we are such creatures of habit, right? When we get ready for a season, we know exactly what month we have to be doing exactly, this workout, that sprint, whatever it might be. And when you change that up, I mean, it just throws a wrench in the whole plan. And so for these younger players, it's almost like they don't know any better. Now, for the older players, LeBron James and all these other players, well, they've had a routine their entire NBA careers of how to get ready for a season, how to maintain during the season. So for me, personally, being a former professional athlete, I think a younger player can bounce back and not really even know enough to know any better of starting over the season.
No, I agree. Isn't that great that all those young legs are over there that are, you just mentioned don't need better, and they can withstand, right, anything from 0 to 100 for the most part. I'm excited about that this depth on this team may actually shine for the first time this year. We know about the starting five, but then also off the bench, Alvin's got Josh Hart, Jj Redick, and Nicole Melli, who really played well. And then if you can have Jackson Hayes there, there's 9 already there that he can throw out there at any given moment. So they're going to be able to maintain their pace. I think, this team this chaotic environment plays to their strengths, right? They play that quick pace, high turnover style game to where Orlando, all this being new, not playing basketball for 4 years or for 4 months as a team, isn't going to really hurt them as much as other teams. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives that you can see on the surface that may actually help out this team, notwithstanding, of course, what you mentioned with the youth.
Ollie, last question. I know that they are chasing the Memphis Grizzlies for the last spot, but in my opinion, trying to make up 3.5 games in 8 to get ahead of them is almost impossible. So I'm watching Portland. That to me is the team. I know that San Antonio is right there, but with LaMarcus Aldridge out, I'm discounting their chances. I don't think that the Kings are going to get there. So to me, Portland is the team. They get Zach Collins and Yusuf Nurkic back. They lose Trevor Ariza, who's decided to opt out of this because of custody issues with his child. So when you look at the Pelicans versus what the new-look Blazers will be, how do you view that matchup?
That's the scariest one. And people have to understand, you look at the standings, 3 teams are exactly 3.5 games behind Memphis. But you know what? Portland, because they've played 2 additional games, have a slightly higher winning percentage. So every team playing 8 games in Orlando, they're effectively 1 game ahead of both of the Pelicans and the Kings. So New Orleans has to win that additional game, especially if Memphis doesn't falter. And you're right, we can't foresee them only winning 1 or 2 games. So you got to think it's a race for 9th. And Portland, with Damian Lillard, all that playoff experience, Trailblazers have made 6 straight postseasons. They're going to be the one to beat.
TheBirdRights.com, the Pelicans have signed Sindarius Thornwell as a substitute player for the rest of this season. There's also some good analytical stuff in there about the Pelicans restart. Ollie, we're looking forward to getting basketball going again. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, guys. Let's hope this train doesn't get derailed, right?
Yes.
See all the games get
Absolutely.
played.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ollie. And, today we found out that Bradley Beal, who was on the fence for the Washington, shoulder, not going to go. The Wizards are probably the one team.
The only other team in the East.
They really have nothing to go. Like, man, I'm out.
So basically, the East is set. Some seeding stuff.
They are.
The one team that was going to try to get to 8th, is losing the best player.
And they had a outside chance. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
and an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
You can also watch us on CST, Facebook Live, and on our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN. Bayou Ford Huddle. Some reaction to some of the things that we talked about with Oleh Kosel. The first one, anonymous, Pelicans will fail. The other one is Steven says, I think it's too much for the Pelicans to overcome and get in the playoffs. Now, remember that they only have to be within 4 games to get into what ends up being a kind of a lopsided series with whoever's in 8th. They would have to win 2 games versus 1. So let's call that a mini playoff. You know, like the old baseball, if you tied the division, you had the 1-game playoff. So even if they get that, even if they get into a 3-game series, when they say the reason I put in the little post, Pels will fail. What's failing? Failing is going over there and going 2-6.
Yeah,
if they go over there and go 2-6. Yeah, that's a fail. All right. If they go 5-3 but happen not to make the playoffs because Portland catches fire, okay. I mean, I don't know that that's a fail. It's not what they want. But we got to talk about degrees of success here. I don't know anybody reasonable that's expecting the Pelicans to go over there and get into a run deep into the playoffs. To me, ceiling is get in as the 8th seed and win a game.
Right.
You know, you win 2, fantastic. But if they can make up this ground, get into a playoff series with the 8th seed, that 2 out of 3 where they have to win 2 in a row, and then get into a series with the Lakers and take a game off of them. That's a win.
That is a building block because remember when they were losing 13 games in a row, everybody said, should we tank again? Should we get another lottery pick? Is that what we should do? I'm like, no, look, being in locker rooms and knowing how you build a foundation and how you create that window to make a championship run, you have to have that first step. What's that first step? It's not getting in the lottery. It's getting into the postseason, even if you lose the game, right? It is important to take that step and to get into the postseason. When I was in San Diego, we went 8-8 one year, but we got into the postseason. We got into the first round, and what did we do? Well, we upset the Colts. They were 12-4. They had to come to us because Tennessee was 13-3.
You block a punt in
that
game?
year.
Was that the fake punt game?
No, that was against the Steelers in
the Steelers.
The next playoffs, I think.
Okay. All right.
See, Hanny, you know more about my career than I do. Okay, so, but that was a step for us because the next year we were 13-3. We won the division. We got a first-round bye, and so you have to have that first step sometimes with a new team because in the NFL is a little bit different because I feel like the teams kind of change a little bit more. But this for the Pelicans would be a big step forward if they got into the postseason, and heaven forbid they win a game against the mighty Lakers and Anthony Davis. That's a little bit of a, hey, Anthony, you might have left us, but we're coming, right? It's the old coach, hey, we're coming. We are almost there. We are getting to a point where we are going to be that young basketball team that nobody wants to play. I think getting into the lottery, I don't think that helps the Pelicans at all.
There's two more reasons for me. Ordinarily, if you can't make a run, tank. But there's two reasons I don't believe that this year. Number one is this is a weak draft. If this were last year's draft and Zion Williamson was out there, even if I had a 1 in 1,000 chance, I want a ping pong ball in the hopper. If Ja Morant's in that draft, J.R. Barrett's
exactly
okay,
right.
That's different. This draft is weak. You don't even have a consensus on who the top pick is going to be.
There's not 5 picks that people feel comfortable with.
No,
I mean, there's not even top 5.
There's a serious foreign influence in this draft of guys we don't really know all that well, but none of them are can't miss guys. So that's the first thing. The second thing is atmosphere, culture around Zion Williamson. Okay, they're going to give him every opportunity. I need to get that group used to winning, expecting to win, hoping that they're on the right trajectory up. So most years I would tell you tank. This year, there's not only is there nothing to tank for, but there's a real playoff, I hope, a playoff style atmosphere down there, at least as far as the basketball is concerned. I know you're not going to have the crowds and all that stuff, so it's a little bit difficult to gauge. So I'm with you there. Here's another one. It says, Brent says, so the fix is in according to the ratings, right? I don't think that the fix is in on games down there, but I do think that the fix was in to get Zion down there. That whatever number of teams they had to put in there to include the Pelicans, it was 22 teams. The Pelicans got in. If the Pelicans would have been 24, it would have been 24. If the Pelicans would have been 28, they would have sent everybody. They wanted Zion Williamson down there.
He's one of the most marketable people in sports, not just the NBA. He's on the cover of the new NBA basketball video game already, right? He's played 19 games, and he's already on the cover. He is a face that everyone knows. He's got a great personality. He's a great young man. He's dynamic. All the things that are very marketable in the NBA, Zion Williamson is. And so there's no question. Whatever the team number was, the Pelicans were always going to be there, and that's all we asked for. We just asked for the Pelicans to have a chance. They have that opportunity now. A lot of people talking about the Spurs and the Grizzlies who sit in that 8th spot, but I'm in the same belief you are. Dame Lillard and the Blazers, well, they can catch fire. Even though they don't have their full squad, CJ McCollum.
I think they've got more of their squad back. I mean, getting Collins and Nurkic back, who are out.
Collins has been injured ever since he came out of Gonzaga.
I know. but he's ready. Reportedly, he's ready to go now, though. So
you get 2 bigs that you didn't have all season. That's a scary basketball.
Now you lose Ariza. And Ariza's a nice piece for them. But so I don't know what they're going to look like. But yes, Lillard is capable of taking over a playoff series by himself.
No question.
He's that good. He's a star.
I don't think CJ McCollum's a 1. He's not that guy that can lead the team. He's better, obviously, when Dame Lillard's in the lineup because we saw when Dame was out, they struggled a little bit. But he's as good as a 2 as you're going to find in the NBA as far as guards. And so it's a Blazers squad that you have to pay attention to. But that's not to say the Pelicans and who they have, they can't match up with you because the chemistry that they had and the young talent, Ollie just mentioned it. Lonzo Ball was playing the best basketball of his career. Well, that's because him and Zion, they meshed really well together. Their styles match up really well together. So who's to say that won't continue?
Did you see Williamson? Did you see that video?
Yes.
I mean, he looks like a tank. I mean that
even
in a
when
good
people
way.
say he's out of shape, he's still not out of. There's no sloppiness to him. Does he gain a little bit of weight? Yes. He was at an LSU football game when people were saying he was out of shape. He looked like he could put some pads on and get after the quarterback.
There's a difference between being in shape for regular people and being in shape for a superstar of his magnitude. For him to be able to play at the level that you saw at Duke, that you saw in these 19 games, or especially, I would say, the last 15, after 2 or 3 games where he got himself really, kind of indoctrinated into the lineup and what they were doing. We expect him to be a megastar.
Yeah.
He can't go out and score 14 points and get 6 rebounds. We'll say that's a lousy game. For a lot of people, that's a good game. For him, what's the matter? You hurt?
Yeah.
Or is there something wrong? You out of shape? For him, in peak physical condition, which is what it looks like he's in right now, he is one of the most dynamic athletes. He'll be with us.
Don't worry. So Hunt's going to come on here in about 15 minutes. Huntisms will definitely live on.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to make you read them. I'm going to make you be mean to Hunt.
I drew the short straw today. We are on CST Facebook Live and our YouTube channel. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
If you're in the market for a Skag ZTR, Gotro's Outdoor Power, stocking over $1 million in Skag inventory. Free delivery with your purchase, as Gotro is also the home of the Performance Plus 5-year warranty, worry-free mowing for 5 full years. Gotro's with 10 full-time certified service techs on staff and the largest parts inventory in the state, providing quick professional service done right the first time. So for all your property maintenance needs, whether it be mowers, chainsaws, pole saws, trimmers, edgers, Gotro's is going to have what you need. For years serving the Gonzales area, Airline at 74. In Baton Rouge, it's Airline at Industrialplex right across from Brian Harris BMW. Gotro's Outdoor Power, simply the best.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
Sacrifice,
resilience,
one goal, together.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Getting ready to go to camp, that you were still playing. NFL Players Association President J.C. Tretter said yesterday that they are in disagreement with the NFL over the terms of training camp. Among other things, he's not wild about the idea that they haven't given them a good medical reason that they've got to play 2 preseason games. They're concerned about the acclimation period, which is a little over 3 weeks. And I think the way I read this was a shot to say, we don't want to play any preseason games. They're looking back to 2011 when there was no offseason program and they had a rash of hamstring, groin, ACLs, all these things. And they're saying, listen, we don't want to play preseason games. I really think that's what this is about. We know that the NFL wants to at least – they've canceled 2 preseason games. Right. They want to cancel the other 2. What would your take be if you were still playing?
As a player, I'd never really felt like the preseason was necessary unless you were the 50, 51, 52, or 53rd man on the roster. You were trying to win the gunner job on punt, or you were trying to be the 5th receiver who could play special teams, or whatever it might be. And college football, well, you don't have preseason games. You have scrimmages. I am a much bigger believer in scrimmaging against another team.
Which they're also not going to allow.
They're not going to. No, they're not. Yeah. But I'm a much bigger fan of that than actually going out there and playing a preseason game. Preseason games, especially if you're a starter, if you're a veteran player, you get literally nothing out of it. The defenses are vanilla. The offenses are very basic, right? So you're not even growing as a player. It's honestly just to see who can win that last spot. There's nothing that Drew Brees is going to get out of a preseason game. There's not one look. There's not one, remember in that 3rd preseason game, we saw this look against the Ravens. You don't get that in the preseason. And so the practices, Hanny, let me tell you, the practices, the intensity level is an 11. You don't want to get embarrassed out there. We used to practice against the Cowboys because they would be out in Oxnard, and there'd be 17 fights. 17 fights because somebody would one-up somebody, and then all of a sudden you got to keep it real, right? And me and Spears used to laugh every time because we weren't out there trying to fight everybody, but you'd look out on the other field and there'd be a brawl because, that intensity level, because you wanted to make sure you didn't get embarrassed. You wanted to show your peers that you were the man or whatever it might be. But you actually did get a lot out of those practices because they were, something that coaches, players, everybody took so serious. You were going to get the best look. In the third down period, you were going to get the best Cowboys blitz that they were going to show in Week 8 against the Giants. You were going to get Lynch blitz. You were going to get safety wheel off the edge, which you typically would literally never see in the preseason.
You were still playing in 11 with the lockout. Did you feel less prepared going to camp?
I'm not going to class anymore, Hanny.
Did you feel less prepared going into camp than in other years?
I did not. We did a great job of working out together. We worked out at San Diego State and USD the entire time. We never left as a team. Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates, those guys did a great job of getting us together. We did our conditioning test that year. We all crushed it. Not one guy failed his conditioning test coming back into camp. And so the only thing that I was bitter about from the lockout was I missed out on all my bonuses. I hit my player performance, but I missed out on the workout portion because there was no workouts. So I'll always be bitter for that. But as far as getting ready for the season, Hanny, University of San Diego is a great campus. That's where we worked out.
Did you think that other teams looked less prepared?
Yes. Younger teams looked less prepared. Younger teams didn't have that veteran guy that got everybody together. And let's call it like it is. San Diego, everybody lived there in the offseason.
Right.
Nobody went back home. Other places, Cleveland, you probably don't stick around.
Problem for Buffalo?
Right. At Buffalo, right? Green Bay. Sorry, Flynn. And so that stuck out, the fact that they didn't work out together. It was easy for us. We were at home, so we were working out like we normally would. Hey, we'll see you at the gym at 11 a.m., whatever it might have been. And so for us, we were an older team, a team that lived in our city during the offseason. That was big for us.
Pretty easy to see where the NFL would cancel the entire preseason. I think that's where we're headed. I think that's what the union is after here. We're brought to you by Richards Honda, and you can see us on CST, Facebook Live, and on our YouTube channel. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You know that I got it. Yeah. You know
Hangin.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes, you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Visit Bayou Ford for a new 2020 Ford F-150 for only $30,400 with 0% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
All right, so I just thought the first one was really funny. Hunt makes multiple trips to the car when unloading all 3 bags of groceries.
Hunt puts tomatoes in his gumbo.
Hanny.
Hunt lifts with gloves on.
I expected better from you.
He made me.
And Hunt does not lift.
Well, no, I do not lift. But I would never take multiple trips. Even if I had 10 grocery bags, we're getting them in at one.
Hunt mixes My High in his White Claw so he doesn't get a hangover.
I only drink Bud Light. We know this, people. I don't get hangovers either.
All right, Tommy Tough Guy.
The My High is for hydration.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first time, and I know we've only been on 2 days, but this is the first time one of my normal co-hosts is going to join us here on the new show. Hester
You're on the
and
wrong
Hanny.
side of the table.
It does feel a little different. So I was sore yesterday, and I'm like, why am I sore? My wife's like, because you looked the other way the whole time. My back
That's
is
sad.
a little sore. It is weird.
I
But
reeled
anyways.
I reeled in like 4 fish on Saturday and got sore from it.
Yeah, it's okay. We're older. It's
That's
fine.
pitiful.
But, Hanny, this is a day that you can flow with this. You and Hunt have done radio together. Hunt does a fantastic job. He's prepared, all those things. That's the nicest thing I'm going to say about you.
Appreciate that.
Tomorrow, I'm just warning you.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to get. I don't know what to expect. And so just know that tomorrow, for the hour that we fluster, I'm going to apologize and put a blanket over everything that we say and do.
I'm thinking about, like, going down the hall
Going to
and
get some
maybe get some
coffee.
paperwork done or something
Probably a
like
good idea.
something like that. I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet. Hunt's waiting for me to watch Game of Thrones so he can be last.
Well, I'm not going to watch Game of Thrones because I'm not going to watch sci-fi anything. So
It's not sci-fi.
It's got to be like
Fantasy. There's a difference.
Aren't there dragons?
There's a couple dragons.
And they're
Three,
sleeping with their
actually. There's a
siblings?
trio. There's some incest, yes.
Well, I'm out.
All right, so
they don't know that. Well, yeah, one does. Okay.
Obviously, I've heard this segment before because this was the show on after us, so I would hear a lot of it. And I asked Hester how this started, and he didn't remember. So do you?
The Huntisms?
That was just people. The Huddle has some people in it who like to say some not so nice things.
They're
and
fantastic.
I always responded with like, just, oh, that's not very nice, or like, oh, come on. And then they realized that you can't really say anything that gets too far under my skin on a virtual chat room, so they just kind of kept going.
Okay,
That's the best part is that you enjoy
I don't have time to
the
worry about any of
interaction.
that.
Yeah,
Life's too
you're not
short.
sensitive. You'll be sensitive when the Cubs don't make the postseason, but not sensitive about this.
Tell all the Cubs to not do the dishes, please. I mean, my
It's a bit of an
goodness.
issue. But nobody tested positive for COVID, so
Okay,
one
yeah, I
step
can't
forward,
say that
one step
because
back.
our best player tested
Freddie!
positive. Yeah, Freddie.
I'm not
Hanny,
gonna,
before we move on real quick, sorry to interrupt you, but who's your team so I know?
I don't have one. I really don't. I rooted for the Braves as a kid because they were
Why'd
on
you
TV.
I did the
Because
same
they
thing
took
with
them
the
off of TV.
I took them off TBS, but once that love started, come on.
I watch. I like to watch the LSU players. I watch baseball. I don't have a team that I specifically root for. When I was the first 8 years I was in Baton Rouge radio, we were an Astros affiliate, and so I listened to the Astros probably 3 times a week because it was in the course of what we were doing during the day at the radio station. And a lot of times when the Astros would play afternoon games, I would have to listen to. I'd have to be in the studio probably by the 7th inning for to make sure, because you never knew how long the game was going to take. That's how I ended up watching Kerry Wood's masterpiece. It was an afternoon game.
Yep.
The Astros were playing. It
was on WGN.
And I was on right after it. And it was one of those slow days that I went in the studio at the very beginning of the show to make sure that the computer was set, and I watched the first inning. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And I don't really have a whole lot to do today. I'm gonna watch that, and I watch. So that's how I watched the whole thing. If that game happens on any other day, I don't see it. I saw all 27 outs that day, and it remains the best game I've ever seen pitched. When he one hit the Astros and struck out 20.
Here's my goal: we get Hanny a team here, before baseball restarts.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to start. It's going to happen.
Fake it.
Yeah, you can start to enjoy a team and watch a team. We're going to get him a team, and I want to know in Baton Rouge, who do y'all think the most rooted team for is? Is it the Astros, Braves, or Cubs? Because I feel like it has to be one of those 3.
I don't. I think there's plenty of Yankee fans here.
You think more Yankees than the other ones?
I don't know necessarily
question
more.
of the day?
It's got to be in. The Yankees have to be in the conversation, and I'm not a Yankee fan, but
God
there
bless.
are
Why would anybody be?
There
a
are a
Yankees
lot
fan?
of Yankee fans.
Jim Larry
out
can
there.
go fly kite.
I have the same
whatever
answer
his
Hanny
name
gave for the Braves. I have for the Cowboys. I was obsessed with the Cowboys when I was young, and they were winning those Super Bowls.
You give Shreveport
and
a bad
then
rap, huh?
You asked him. You go, what happened? You go, I don't really know. Well, they took him off TV. I know what happened. We went from Troy Aikman to Quincy Carter, and that was it.
He can kindly leave. He just said we for the Cowboys.
Well, not anymore. I like Tuscaloosa.
God, yeah. What are you doing? Come, if the team is in your state, that's who you root for. It doesn't matter which team is the closest, Annie. If you have a team in your state, That's why I feel bad about the Pelicans. Pelicans were not here when I grew up, but I feel like I need to start rooting for the Pelicans because they're in my state.
Yeah, well, if there were a baseball team in Louisiana, I would definitely.
That's
root
why we
for
all
them.
pick different ones.
If somebody moved here, and, you get a lot of different opinions. A lot of people my age grew up watching the Braves, and they didn't really take the Braves off of TV until the 90s.
Who was your favorite? Dale?
Oh, Dale Murphy. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. But there was a question the other day that sometimes you can get on your old Braves knowledge, and somebody asked, if it weren't for injuries, could you make a case for a guy that would have definitely been in the Hall of Fame? And the first guy that came to my mind was Bob Horner.
Yeah.
I mean, you go look at Bob Horner's stats when he was healthy, and he had to retire at 31, but he was almost never healthy. So I watched those Braves teams until they were all
TBS.
Yeah, TBS. And I watched. My grandmother was a huge baseball fan, so I watched games with her when I was a kid. And one of the worst things I ever had to tell her was that the Braves traded Dale Murphy. I mean, by that time I was a teenager, and she called. Yeah, she traded to the Phillies, and she called me, and she was nearly in tears. Yeah. She wanted to know why the Braves had traded Dale Murphy, and how do you explain to she was about 80-something at the time, how do you explain to her why they traded Dale Murphy? I had no good answer for her.
My mother was so upset when the Braves got rid of Terry Pendleton. Same thing. Why did they get rid of Terry Pendleton? He's an MVP. Mom, they got Chipper Jones.
Yeah, Chipper. I can answer that one a lot easier.
Yeah.
They traded him in '87, and they were just horrid.
Yeah.
They were an awful team, and they were an awful team for about 3-4 years there, where they're just terrible. And it's like, okay, Murph's nearing the end. They're going to explain that to an 85-year-old woman.
Yeah,
okay?
who'd Murphy end his career with?
The Rockies.
The Rockies. Hanny, baby. He knows trivia. This one over here.
He was 2 homers short of 400.
He was.
Nobody on the Jeff Blauser fan club?
Oh, shortstop.
He played for my Cubbies.
Jeff See-Through Blauser.
With Mark Lemke. The little double play tandem there.
Mm-hmm.
No
were you
Sid
watching,
Bream at first base?
Were you watching the night that Sid Bream scored?
Absolutely. Against the Pirates.
I was in college.
Andy Van Slyke told Barry Bonds to scoot up in left field. Told him to scoot up. He did not. Actually sent him a cuss word back his way and didn't scoot up. The ball goes to him. Doesn't get it to the plate in time. Sid Bream, who runs like 6'8", 40
on a good day.
On a good day, on a bum knee.
I was in an apartment complex when that happened. Early, this is '92. And there were still enough Braves fans that when Bream scored, there were people running out of the apartment complex, running around the parking lot because the Braves. And at that time, I was still a Braves fan, so I was, happy that they had done that. I'm not reading the one about dusting the crawfish because that derailed, I think, 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah, don't do that.
Week.
We don't dust crawfish. We don't endorse dusting crawfish. Doesn't matter where you're at in the state, top, bottom, middle, you don't dust crawfish.
Of all the times that I've done radio, you never know when a topic is just going to just take off that you wouldn't think would be any. If you put it down on a piece of paper and said, this is what we're going to talk about for 2 hours, it would never. We were doing a show one time, and Condon was doing mornings, and all of a sudden, somebody comes down to my office and says, do you know what they're talking about? And I'm like,
meth gators?
Well, at that point, whenever somebody would come down to my office and say, do you know what Condon's talking about? Immediately my heart drops because then it's like,
never know.
What do I have to do? They were talking about what you put on your grits. And this went on. This went on for 2 hours. I mean, and this is when we used to take phone calls.
Yeah.
I mean, the phones did not stop. You would be amazed at the number of things that people put on their grits. And inevitably it would be somebody would say, I put cheese on my grits, and the next person would call and say, you're an idiot, that's crazy, you're an alien, and I put sugar on my grits.
I can get behind
for 2 hours.
I can get behind someone getting angry.
You.
Yeah, there you go, Condon. Instant grits. I don't like instant grits. Like, come on, man, you're from the South. Like, don't do instant grits. Like, you got to make your own grits. Now, sugar and butter, cheese, whatever you put on, that's up to you, but you can't make instant grits. I'm sure Hunt does, but he probably doesn't like grits.
I don't make much, and I certainly don't make grits.
Here's a whole new thing of Huntisms about what you put.
Now, the cowboy stuff, like, that should be the new Huntisms. He said we, and then Quincy Carter was the next thing after he said we.
So, okay, Jacob and I
Play
actually
for the Battle Wings, by the way.
We actually had this.
Got arrested.
I asked him in the break if Shreveport was. I asked him what the percentage of Cowboy versus Saints fans. You grew up at a time in Shreveport when Shreveport was dominant with the Cowboys, but it's not anymore.
Not anymore.
So Shreveport is a
Saints.
It's a Saints city.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but that's only because of the winning. I mean, did you have people actively switch from Cowboys to Saints, or did?
Well, and the younger people, my dad's a Cowboys fan because when he grew up in Shreveport in the '60s, there were no Saints. And when did the Saints start?
Saints started as 67.
So when he's in his formative years in elementary school, there are no Saints, and the Cowboys have Staubach, and they're winning. And then he, of course, now he watches the Saints more closely than the Cowboys to pull against them now, because he got irritated in the 90s when the Cowboys were good and winning, and there wasn't a Sunday ticket, and the Saints fans were saying they needed to put the Saints on TV when they had bags on their heads in the Superdome, and that did not make him very happy. So now he just pulls against the Saints.
So my father grew up a Raiders fan and stayed with the Raiders for a long time because the same thing, he was already in his teenage years when the Saints developed their franchise. And I played for the Raiders' biggest rivals, the Chargers and the Broncos, and he still, now went back to the Raiders. I'm like, Dad, do you understand? There's nothing I hate more outside of the Philadelphia Phillies than the Oakland Raiders. I have Las Vegas Raiders now. I have a deep hate for the Raiders, their stadium, their infield in their stadium, everything about the Raiders, their Bush League locker rooms. And he's like, just win, baby. I'm like, Dad, we can't fix you.
I mean, when he was watching, though, there was about a 20-year stretch. This would have gone from, say,
where they were
74,
mean, nasty, tough.
Well, not only were they mean, nasty, and tough, but they had the best winning percentage in all of professional sports, not just the NFL. Now, they didn't win as many Super Bowls as the Steelers or the Niners, but their overall winning percentage and their percentage on Monday Night Football for years. I mean, this is, I would say, over a 2-decade run. That's why they developed the following that they did. And before Al Davis went round the bend, he was among the best talent evaluators in all of
Before
football.
the Combine. The Combine screwed Al Davis up because whoever had the fastest 40, the most reps, he was going to draft them.
That was at the end of his career. When he was a coach at the beginning, he
started out with the Chargers.
Yeah,
he started out with the LA Chargers.
But when he forced the ownership out, and he was the original, I say the original, when the Raiders owner, when they came around to the merger, that guy, they put together teams of cast-offs. Now, they had stars too.
Yeah.
But the cast-offs that they brought in there that they got great production out of, he could look at a guy in his 30s and say, can that guy still play? Yeah. A John Matuzak or a Lyle Alzado. He could go find those guys, and and he knew. Hunt would have probably disagreed with Al Davis.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
We got to get with this a potentially big week for LSU basketball. We got to talk a little bit about that. Well, okay, we'll talk about how maybe
doom and gloom, just like the weather.
The worm has turned a little bit on Moose Cisse. We'll get to that with Hunt. We are on Facebook Live, CST. YouTube, you can get us on the YouTube channel 104.5 ESPN, and of course on 1130 The Tiger up in Shreveport. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. and I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Hunt has a onesie that says 3 rings.
What are the what rings are we talking about here?
That was, Jimmy Johnson named his boat 3 rings.
Yeah, 3 rings.
So
what I mean,
you couldn't afford a boat, you got a onesie.
Okay, gotcha. But what are my 3 rings that I'm talking about here?
Well, you're the one that admitted to being a Cowboys fan.
I've been through. Okay, Jimmy Johnson. That's the 3 rings I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah, you're a Cowboys fan.
Well, Belichick had a boat that was like 4 rings or something.
Belichick never tells anybody anything.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't get video of that.
We could have no idea about that. All right, talk to me about LSU hoops.
Yeah.
We talked to Billy Embody yesterday. He was less optimistic about Musa Cisse than he was. I think as recently as a week before that. So what's your take?
Well, my first take is that Cisse is. This is a cliche. The missing piece, is that too bold? He's a missing piece because he's a rim protector and an enforcer with some size and a desire to play on the defensive end of the floor. And yeah, Watford's tall, and if he comes back, but he didn't give you anything on the defensive end. And Ezewaro's not ready to play. He's reclassifying. Josh White's a freshman. Okay, and how Sharif O'Neal and Josh LeBlanc, they're not quite as tall as maybe some guys. That's just something they're going to miss. Jacob and I have talked about this a ton. The depth on this team is going to be awesome. But all of a sudden, you start to look at the size and the rim protection, and once again, it might not be there.
You got to ask yourself what the team 2 years ago would have been like without Bigby Williams.
Yeah.
Right.
Because this guy is he is a better shot blocker than Bigby Williams. I don't know what his offensive game would translate to.
I don't need it. Look at the rest of the team.
Right, exactly. And Bigby Williams he did the 2 things you want to do. He protected the rim and he shot free throws well. Mm-hmm. Because the shots he was going to get, he was going to get fouled. And I think he averaged about 10 points a game. Yep. But that wasn't what they would. So this ends up being a team that looks a lot like the team from 2 years ago, which was a Sweet 16 team, but without Bigby Williams.
Could be
fair?
Could be the missing piece, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what we
kind
talked
of,
about.
and you just don't expect this team to be elite on the perimeter defensively. I mean, I don't know what kind of defender Cam Thomas is. I think Charles Manning's a pretty good defender. Javonte's not great. And if you count on some freshmen to come in there and be defensive stoppers, I think that's probably ambitious. So now all of a sudden, you're not great on the ball on the perimeter, and you don't have anybody to stop at the rim, and then all of a sudden you start looking into exactly what we've looked at last year, where they can score on anybody. They can go get you 85, 86, 88 points, but they may lose 95, 86.
And then there's Trendon Watford, who we still don't know. Could still obviously opt out.
What's your take? Because I've given mine a ton of times, and mine is that guys like Tremont Waters, Emmett Williams, they're never going to get taller. They are what they are, so you might as well go give it a shot. And there's 3 ways to do it. You can be a first-round pick, a second-round pick, or an undrafted, and go try that way. First-round pick, you're guaranteed to get the roster spot. Second round, you're not. And third-round undrafted, you just try to go figure it out and make it work. And a lot of guys aren't going to be first-round picks. It's just not going to be possible, so go try. I think Watford has the ability at some point in his basketball career to be selected in the first round, and I think he should come back and try to do that.
The things that Watford can improve on that I think would improve his draft stock can be worked on. No, he's not going to get any taller, but you're looking at 2 things. Number one is range. He at least appears to me a guy that 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, would have been more highly thought of before the analytics took over the game. He is a very good, I think, mid-range.
That one-handed floater from 5 feet is unbelievable.
Well, and I'm thinking even to 10, 12. The shots they don't want you to take in the NBA anymore, these mid-range jump shots, he can make that. If you can make that, and I watched him improve as a free throw shooter as the season went along. He's got a kind of a unorthodox motion, but he wouldn't be the first. If you can make them, I don't care if you curl the ball behind your head like Jamal Wilkes used to do. Just put the ball in the hole. If he can do those 2 things, if he can continue to improve his free throw shooting, improve the range on his jump shot, yes, there is significant upside to him.
It feels like there's so many guys, though, for LSU to put their names in the draft that had to have a combine. They had to have that moment where they could show they could go compete with the best in college basketball. And with this year not having the normal setup that you would typically have, I think that forces a lot of LSU guys, if they're doing it the smart way, to come back to school hunt because you don't have the chance. Javonte Smart couldn't go to the combine and show his skills. Trendon Watford can't do that. And I feel like they had to have that to get themselves where they would be drafted.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate. I don't believe what I'm about to say, but I'll just throw a counterpoint out there.
Hey, wait, Jimmy's not here. You don't have to do that.
You could say there's going to be a lot of guys who think that way and will go back to school, like in baseball, and this draft is weak, and there are more spots, and you can move up based on that of everybody pulling out and not having elite players.
I'm of the opinion that the combine and those individual workouts, they're more about getting to know the players personally than they are about what they see in the workouts. 9 times out of 10, a player gets to that stage. He gets invited to that camp, the combine in Chicago, or he gets invited to an individual workout. You have seen him play enough. You've seen him play in enough games, you know. So, for instance, what if a guy shows up? I've always wondered this about basketball workouts, and I've even had coaches tell me this. Guy shows up and makes 15 shots in a row. So now you're high on him? Is he going to make 15 shots in a row again? It's more about sitting down and talking with a guy, getting a feel for his personality.
I think that's for the top guys, though. But for the fringe guys, you have to see, can they compete against the best of the best? Langston Galloway is a guy that I've talked to. He's from Baton Rouge, plays for the Pistons now. He had that opportunity, right, in these one-on-one workouts. Well, I forget the first rounder that he went against. He's like, well, look, I went out there and I had a really good day, and I showed I can compete against the best of the best. And so when you're that fringe guy, and it doesn't matter if it's the NFL, if it's the NBA, if it's the MLB showcase, when you're the fringe guy, you have so much more to benefit from a combine situation. The top guys, I agree with you, Hanny. They just want to know, okay, give me your background. How much basketball do you know? Just like in football. Hey, let's get on the board. What do you know? But for the fringe guys, the guys that are trying to work their way into the draft, it is that opportunity to show I can be here with the big boys. I can step up. I think Tremont Waters was the guy that benefited from the NBA draft combine.
Probably so. But for anybody in a big conference or that has played in an NCAA tournament game, you've seen some stuff. I mean, yes, I'll grant you that there are some times where you're not going to get a complete look like you would like to because they played at a smaller school. But I don't know. I think that by the time they get to the combine, they've made up. They've made up their mind a lot about.
I've got film of him with Ashton Higgins for 40 minutes. I've got him with Kyra Lewis for 40 minutes. Like I've seen him play as good a players as you're going to find in that position in the country.
Yeah, even two recent number 1 draft picks, the number 1 pick in the draft, didn't make the tournament. They were in big conferences. Ben Simmons was one. Markelle Fultz was another one. They played those big conferences. They didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament. Didn't need to go to the combine. They were going to go where they were going to go.
So basically, we have a combine for no reason is what you are telling me.
No, you got to get to know guys.
You got to get to know them. You got to see if they're dating Sally or what they're doing after school. I just being in that situation and going to the combine and knowing the questions they asked and knowing exactly what they wanted to see from you, I definitely think there is a group of people that there are still boxes that have not been checked that you can check at the combine. So for instance, I know for me, I was talking with the Packers at the combine, and I thought I was so worried about the 40-yard dash, Hanny. I was so worried about it. I was like, I've run a 4.5, I've run a 4.6, where am I at? And I remember the Packers telling me, hey, I'll be honest with you, we don't really care what you run today. I was like, wait, what do you mean? They said, we saw the game tape against you versus Alabama when Flynn threw an interception and you chased the DB down and caught him from behind. They said, we know that your game speed is going to be different than you run out here the next day. Other teams, they were like, hey, you just got to see a 40, anything under 4.65, and we feel good about you. So it really depends, too, on the team and what they're looking for. Now, obviously, I didn't get drafted by the Packers, but that's what they had. They had, hey, we've seen it on tape. We know how fast you are in pads. Other teams, they said, hey, we don't know if you can run under a 4.65. We have to see it tomorrow. So
I think enough teams have been burned by the guy that runs the one-off, okay, that he looks like a 4.5 guy on film, but maybe he runs a low 4.4.
It's like the guy that cheated on the ACT, right? It's the guy that made a 17 all 6 times he took, and then all of a sudden he busts out a 24.
Yeah, well, and the kid that is a maybe a 2.0 student and makes a 26.
Yeah.
Okay, then you go, wait a minute. This all started with Mike Mamula when Mamula was out of Boston College, and he was the first guy that took all of the drills that they were going to do at the combine and just practiced those drills. He didn't do anything else but that. He went to the combine and blew everybody away and ended up being a top 10 pick. He wasn't a top 10 player, but he was a top 10 pick. That's why when I say these kids go to a camp, you make 10 shots in a row. Maybe you're perfect from the free throw line that day. Maybe you.
Kyle Korver. There's legends about his workouts.
Well, Kyle Korver can shoot.
He's still playing.
That's not.
Still playing.
Those.
Creighton legend.
If your combine doesn't match your film, I don't think you fool anybody anymore. I mean, it doesn't. They want to see you show up in shape. They want to be able to answer these questions. They want to get to know you a little bit. But if that workout pops and that changes your mind completely changes your mind off of something, I think there's more mistakes to be made there.
So you don't think Justin Jefferson running a 4.4 this year changed him being a second-round pick to a first-round pick, though?
Not as much as catching 4 touchdown passes against Oklahoma.
I don't know. That was every scout GM that I had conversations with, on air, off the air, that was all they could talk about was Jefferson's 40-yard dash. And so I agree with you for the most part. I think 98% of the time I agree with you. But I do think there is always a group of players that have to prove something, even if it's a first-round pick. If Jefferson goes out there and runs a 4.57, do the Vikings take him in the first round?
No, probably not. I'll give you that. There are, you can hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But so they're not completely useless. Yeah. But I do think it has to go in conjunction with everything else that you know. You were in the interviews. What kind of stuff did they ask you? Getting to know you.
Someone asked me inside the Bayou Ford Huddle, and I've told this story on the air before, but I never get tired of telling it because it pissed me off that bad. The Detroit Lions asked me. I was married at the time. They asked me if I ever cheated on my wife. That was the first question they ever asked me. I wanted to punch the guy right in his face, and it was a top exec too. It wasn't like a scout or anything. And that was the first question he asked me. And nothing's off the table in those meetings. I mean, have you ever cheated on a test in class? Have you ever, missed class? And then the first one when you sit down, have you ever cheated on your wife? I was like, dude, wait a minute. We got to have a conversation out of this room.
What are they expecting you to say?
I guess they want to see your reaction. How are you going to handle pressure? All those things. Are you committed? Whatever it might be. But it's like, come on, man. What in the hell does that have to do?
Is it to
football?
See how you handle trash talk on the field? If somebody.
Maybe. But we've heard stories of people that cross the line all the time in those meeting rooms, and we've heard of people getting in trouble. Was it the Falcons or the Dolphins? a couple years ago where they asked a question and it became public, and the guy, I believe, got fired.
Oh, it was about his mother's. Something about his mother.
Yeah,
I forgot exactly what it was. Or maybe they're trying to see if this guy's going to lie to us. If he gives us this answer and we think he's lying, does he answer us when he's looking away? Is he fidgeting with his hands? I mean, federal agents go through this training to try to see if people are lying to them when they're asking them questions. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Not what I would have led with.
No, they'll ask you questions like, "Hey, we saw that you played in this bowl game in Orlando in 2004. We know what hotel y'all stayed at. A lot of nightlife by that hotel. Did you visit any of that nightlife?" It's like, dude, I was 19 years old in 2004. One, I couldn't get into those places, and two, I was so worried about the Iowa Hawkeyes and the defensive end Matt Roth. I wasn't really worried about going out and hanging out at the bars. But why do you care what I was doing in 2004?
Well, the other thing is that they'll tell you that most of the time when they ask you a question, they know the answer. I mean, they may not know the obscure things. They're not asking because they don't know. They're asking to see what you tell them. They probably had a mole. I mean, teams have got moles inside of colleges. That happens. I'm convinced that happens.
Oh, there's no question.
They know somebody. They know a trainer. They know an assistant coach. They know somebody.
Teams within themselves have moles, right?
Yeah.
Les's big deal was don't go out on a Thursday night. You cannot go to Tigerland, a bar, on a Thursday night during the season. If we catch you, you're not playing on Saturday. Well, he would have people that would go out to the bars on Thursday night.
He could have hired me for that.
To try to find. Well, we know you were there. You gained 60 pounds during college. But they were there to say, hey, did you go out on a Friday night? We saw this player in the bar. We saw that player in the bar. And that's our team rule. You cannot go to the bars. And, it would be whoever, GA, strength staff, whoever it would be. But that was his deal. And so definitely moles all over the place.
I'm convinced that the Saints have a mole inside of Ohio State.
Because they must,
because they know the guys from Ohio State, and how many mistakes have they made on guys out of Ohio State? Almost none.
Almost none.
Those guys, they get a report on that. Hey, what's this guy like? Yeah. Oh man, this guy's squared away.
I can promise you they don't have a mole inside LSU because good God, drafted stinking Tiger.
You see, all I needed to do was set him up for that. I put that one. I put that one on the golden tee. We are here on Facebook Live on CST and on our YouTube channel 104.5 ESPN and on 1130 The Tiger and Shreveport. This is Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In and eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Annis & Bitter. Annis & Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Hunt Palmer with us in hour number 2. You know, Hunt, yesterday for my first day, Jacob brought a pile of cheeseburgers, so I was all excited when I saw this Hungry Howie's box that you had brought for the show today, and then I noticed it was empty.
No goodies.
But
I know the way that you would head home, and you can make that part of your evening if you're so inclined.
It's a very, very easy swing by there on my way home for sure.
Hungry Howie's bringing you Hanging with Hester and Hanny every single weekday. I want to remind you, you can get 3 medium one-topping pizzas for just $15. Of course, all 3 can have those flavored crusts. There's not a better pizza deal in town. There's 3 ways to order Hungry Howie's pizza. You can get the Hungry Howie's app. That's the way I do it. It's the easiest. You can set your pickup time, set your delivery time. You can call 761-HOWIE, H-O-W-I, or you can go to hungryhowies.com. And we want to remind you that Hungry Howie's is hiring. You can apply at hungryhowies.com.
So we got the new lineup going here this week, and part of that is an expanded OTB that goes all the way until 10 o'clock in the morning. And still part of their Tuesdays, though, is Coach Ed Ogeron. Had some nice things to say about the Ivy League transfer offensive lineman Liam Shanahan.
You know, we're thinking that Liam may be a center. What we hear, and obviously we can't watch him, but he's snapping well. It's what the quarterbacks are telling. The other offensive linemen like him. They're working together. He's very smart. We feel that he for sure can make the calls and be a leader for us. He's a big young man. He's 6'5", 310. He's a tough young man. He is really, really impressive. I met his family. His daddy is a big Irishman. He's put, I think, 4 students through Ivy League schools, and what a great family. And very impressed with the young man so far, but he's got to go through camp and get it done.
Center was one of the things that they were going to have to address with the departure of Lloyd Cushenberry, but I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that Chase and Hines would have the inside track there going into spring, which we didn't have, or mostly didn't have. and into the summer, which we have sort of had. Hines is bigger than the last time we saw him. Too much bigger than the last time we saw him. Now, they moved Joseph Evans over there earlier in the year. So, and now we're talking about Shanahan, who I think was brought in to kind of be I hate to use the term Swiss Army knife, gets used too much, but he was used to be a guy who could play multiple positions. And now I think they may be looking at center. Coach O just confirmed it a little bit harder. Because they got to find a guy there. Hines has got to be able to play at that playing weight that he did when he was against Auburn, and right now he's not at that weight.
I think a lot of people realize what Lloyd Cushenberry meant to this team a year ago. Right, the first offensive lineman everywhere, number 18, all those things. He's a leader. Well, he's an extremely smart football player as well. That's the thing that you knew about him from day one. It's hard to make the transition to center, and I don't think that anybody can just play center. Now, I was encouraged by Chase and Hines last year, really sitting behind Lloyd Cushenberry for a year. Let's remember in 2018, Chase and Hines was the guy that started games at guard.
Right? At Auburn.
He started against Georgia at home as well. This is a guy that had big-time moments as a true freshman moving over from the defensive line in 2018. So I thought last year was the perfect situation. He sits behind Lloyd Cushenberry. He learns. He grows. He's your center moving forward. But this is the offense that, the center has to be another quarterback on the field. He has to get you in the right protection because there's a ton, more than any team in the country, Hanny, 5-man protection. When you have a 5-man protection, the offensive line can't be wrong. They have to be on the guy they're supposed to be on, and the quarterback has to know who's free. That is a very difficult thing to do. You have to have a center that can handle that. And so if Chase and Hines right now, if they don't feel like he's the best guy to handle that moving forward, it's not to say he's not a great football player, but maybe Liam Shanahan is the guy to do that. And what's that do for you? Well, Chase and Hines can be the backup center. He can also compete at right guard, right? Let's not forget that. That's a position that's open. Now, Anthony Bradford looks like he's got the leg up on that competition, but this was needed because LSU's offensive line, it needed some depth. And if Liam Shanahan can give you that depth, he's doing exactly what you wanted when you got him from Harvard. And if he can be a starter, that's lagniappe. That's extra. And so it gives you another guy that can be in that rotation. The best thing about this LSU offensive line, in my opinion, you have a lot of guys that can play multiple positions. And I know sometimes you want to have your 5 that are set out in place just like stones, but I think if you have some guys that can play center, they can play guard. Shanahan can play guard, center, or maybe even some tackle. We heard right tackle when he first got here. That helps this LSU offensive line because their numbers right now are down.
You're talking about being able to quarterback the team, quarterback the offensive line, and that's one thing. But another thing that you have to be able to move your feet. You've got to have a little bit of flexibility down there. Jason Hines is listed at 349 pounds.
Yep.
You can't play center at 349 pounds. At least I haven't seen any guys play center effectively at that weight. I mean, he's a big man. He's 6'3". As a guard, he's always reminded me an awful lot at guard of a young Trey Turner.
Yep.
Because Turner came in here at about 330, played about 335 pounds, maybe even a little bit heavier than that. When he showed up at the combine at 308, it's like, whoa, what happened to you?
Yeah.
But Turner was an excellent player here. He was a big man. He had a huge frame. He was just naturally big. Hines reminds me of Turner.
Yep.
I don't think Turner could have played center here. I don't think he had the flexibility to be able to get out and make some of the reach blocks and snap the ball and be able to step and do that at that weight. That's just me.
I'm all for an undersized offensive lineman at center. Lloyd Cushenberry, going back to him, Brett Helms, when we were winning championship in 2007. When I was in the NFL, we had Nick Hardwick. It's 285, 290 pounds sometimes. Dan Copen when I was with the Broncos after he had the run with the Patriots. And I love a guy that's about 6'2", right around 300 pounds. Right, I like my centers a little bit shorter. I like them where they can get underneath, a zero nose if they have to. They have enough weight behind them to be able to push the pile, but they've got to be flexible, like you said, Hanny. They got to be able to slide, protect, or do whatever.
With Shanahan, he could have benefited so much from a spring and certainly will from a fall camp because he can't answer any of the questions that you have about him right now without the pads on because you don't have to worry about him figuring out the offense. You don't have to worry about a guy who's raw. He's started for 3 years. He knows how to play football. I just want to see if he can do it against SEC-level players. That's the question. And, a lot of times when you get guys from smaller school, they've played elite competition for a game or two in one of these money games. Well, Harvard doesn't play those because they don't need any money. And when they play out of conference, they play Georgetown and Rhode Island and Lafayette. They just don't have any need to go play Penn State or Georgia. So you haven't seen him up against his competition level ever. That's the question you're going to have about him, and he doesn't get to try to prove that because they can't work out.
I was all ready to make a smart comment when you said Shanahan can't answer the question. He went to Harvard. He can answer any
He can answer
question.
any
you want.
question.
I mean, what did he make?
What
on
an
his
Irish
ACT?
name, Liam Shanahan.
So they got that. Maybe when we get to August camp, if we get to August camp, we hope we get to August camp. I can't think of any question that's more pressing than who's going to be the starting center. I mean, I know we're going to have some other battles along the offensive line, but at least I've got an idea in my head what's going on there. I think that center thing is, I'm going to say, wide open right now.
And you can figure it out because they're going to get a face mask full of Tyler Shelvin and Apu Ika and Glenn Logan, and you're going to figure out who's ready to go and who's not.
Those are better than the guys that play at Princeton.
That's correct.
Better than
or
the Tigers
Georgetown
that
or
play.
any of those places. Look, when we had Coach Ensminger on the Coach's Caravan, I'll continue to say this. He didn't try to shy away from it. He said the offensive line is a concern right now. We've got to figure out who our guys are moving forward. But this is encouraging in the fact that you have belief in Shanahan that he can potentially be a starter. That gives you another piece. And so I think the offensive line has guys that have started before, Handy. When you look at Rosenthal, started an SEC game. Chasen Hines started an SEC game. When you look at right tackle, Dicuss, obviously, Ed Ingram, obviously. So they've got guys that have started before. Now they have to take that next step. And Dicuss and Ed Ingram, I think, have already taken that next step. But you've got to have another guy. You need one more piece to step up, and you've got to have that swing guy. You call it a Swiss Army knife, and you hate using that term, but you have to use it because every offensive line has to have that guy. In the NFL, when you're traveling, when you're cutting your rosters down, can he play every position across the board? Because that's the guy that's going to make the team.
Miles Brennan is a true 6'5", yes? We're saying 6'4"?
He's 6'4", yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm just looking at a potential offensive line that could have 6'7", 6'4", 6'5", 6'7", 6'7".
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very good intramural basketball team with those heights.
I don't know. I played intramural basketball in the 6 foot and under league, so I don't know anything about that world.
I played against the football team in the intramural championship game and
but
took them to the woodshed.
You got in for like 30 seconds. You don't
Well, I
get to
wasn't quite
claim that.
30, but I was out there.
I mean, seriously, if Bradford wins the right guard job and
How tall
Deculus-
is he?
He's 6'7".
He might be.
I did not
he
realize
might be
that.
a legit 6'7".
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and Rosenthal is 6'7".
I knew
Now,
he
your
was.
tackles 6'7" is okay. You have a 6'5" guard, a 6'5" center, and a 6'7" guard. These are big people. Ingram at 6'4" would be the shortest one out of
He's the run.
Yeah,
He's the run. 6'4".
you tell him that. Take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Back in the Bayou Ford huddle, Hunt never watched Dawson's Creek.
That's true. Never watched an episode of Dawson's Creek.
Basically Pacey's Creek, but it's a whole different
Vanderbeek?
subject.
Is that him?
Yeah, James Vanderbeek was in it, but Pacey's actually Charlie Conway from the Mighty Ducks.
Ah.
Joshua Jackson. Yeah.
Another one says, at least we've moved on from discussing Miles Brennan's weight. We moved on to Miles Brennan's
Finally,
height now.
the Slim Reaper.
Right.
We moved on from him. My man looks good, though.
I've heard nothing but good things about what he
One
showed up
of the things that people wanted to get on Miles for was, the guy's going hunting and fishing too much. He's not in his playbook. Like, no, he's in his playbook. Here's what the deal. When you're not the starter, it's a different expectation than when you are the starter. And I think Miles grew under a guy like Joe Burrow, seeing the way he worked. And you knew as soon as he became the starter and it was his team, he was going to flip the switch and he was going to start doing things like a starter does. And that's exactly what you're hearing from LSU. I've been over to the building. That's what you're seeing from Miles. He is a leader. And when you're not the guy, sometimes you're going to have a different schedule, and that's okay. When it becomes your team, you're going to do the things it takes. Let's not forget, he also graduated like Joe Burrow. He's not going to have a full schedule. He's going to be on that pro football schedule as far as when he can watch tape, when he can break down film, all those different things. His classes are online, so he is going to have a full pro schedule for 2 years, and it's only going to benefit Miles.
Somebody asked me about Cordell Thomas because I brought up Anthony Bradford at right guard. I just did that because that would be the tallest line that they've got. Thomas is still there. That's also a battle, I think.
Yeah, look, he got set back by the injury.
Sure.
There's no question about that. It was one of those injuries that took him, a full football season to recover from. It's going to be a battle at right guard. Just because Anthony Bradford right now looks like he is a starter, it's in pencil. It's not in Sharpie.
Right. I don't. The reason I brought it up was because Bradford is 4 inches taller than Thomas. We were just talking about the height of the offensive line.
Same five guys that start the first one, don't start all the rest of them, don't play the whole time. So you need about 8 or 9 of them.
I mean, look at last year's offensive line, how many different combinations you actually had on a national championship team that won the award for the best offensive line. You had multiple combinations at left tackle, left guard. I mean, you were all over the place, really. So, I mean, you had a constant there on the right side of your offensive line, but your left side, I mean, it changed, it seemed like game by game.
Well, it did because you had a suspension
Right.
going on the left side of the line that you had to account for every time. Hopefully that won't be the case this year.
I would like that.
Hunt, thanks a lot, man.
It's been a joy.
Oh,
See y'all soon.
Fastest hour in radio right there, man.
Chris Doering is with us in hour number 3. This is Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
If you're an investor, consider these 2 questions.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes, you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In an eye out for danger. If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Visit Bayou Ford for a new 2020 Ford F-150 for only $30,400 with 0% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast.
with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hour number 3, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. CST, Facebook Live, and our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. So I know Matt's going to do a lot about this story in his show, so we're going to touch on this briefly, and we'll kind of let him carry the water a little bit to go into maybe a little bit more detail, but we've got a take on it. And this is Cleo Fields' letter to the Bessie Board. In that letter, Fields said that the public health recommendations by the Department of Education that were issued last month and the guidelines by the CDC have failed to adequately address the issue of public school sports, and he wants to recommend that they be canceled, fall sports be canceled altogether. Here's a quote. It says, despite the comprehensive guidance by the Department of Education and CDC guidelines, there are still instances of public school teams holding football practice and or related activities. I do not believe these conditioning activities can be conducted safely, much less drills, practice, and games. There's simply too much close proximity involved to safely conduct these activities, and the issue is much too critical to leave these decisions to the LHSAA. LHSAA, through Eddie Bonine, declined to comment on this. I'm going to get your initial reaction to what you're hearing here.
It has to be the absolute last thing. It has to be the last thing that you can possibly do, and I mean by canceling this high school fall season. Because let me tell you something. I understand the safety of everyone is the top priority, but if there is a way to do it, Hanny, you have to do it. High school sports for so many people is one of the biggest moments in their life. Even myself, who was very fortunate to play college and pro football, high school memories will never go away. The time I had playing in the Superdome with Evangel in the state championship games, the time I had playing even high school soccer, my brother was my head coach. Those are things I will never forget. Those are moments in my life that mean as much as anything to me. Having Nick Saban come to my high school soccer game when I was getting recruited, and we had like 2,000 fans at a local high school game, that's something I literally will never forget. And they don't get this opportunity back. This isn't college athletics where you can take a redshirt year, or you can take a year and you get an extra eligibility. That doesn't happen in high school. You can't go be a sophomore again in high school, right? We all know the rules. You can't be 19 before September of your senior year. Especially people who went to Evangel West Monroe. We know that rule very, very well, right? Okay?
I wasn't going to say nothing.
I saw the look in your eyes, okay? I saw the look. And so you don't get that opportunity back. Man, this has to be the last-ditch thing that absolutely cannot happen, man. You have to come up with a protocol, and I understand, again, player safety, but if there's other leagues doing it, there's a way to do it. I don't know what it looks like, but please do not, right now in July, cancel high school sports, because these young men and women have worked their ass off their entire lives to get to this point. Not everybody has to play college athletics. Not everybody has to be a pro. Being a really good high school player, sometimes that's a lot. That can be a building block for the rest of your life. I know so many people that never played past high school, but it was the foundation of who they became. And so I just can't imagine not having fall sports, because guys, they'll never get this back. Not any time in their life will they get this opportunity back. I feel bad enough for the high school sports in the spring that got canceled. Those seniors, they don't have that opportunity. My brother coaches boys and girls varsity soccer up in Shreveport, and just the feeling that I got from him when everything was canceled, and the group that he had was a special group, right? And they had this bond that they have been growing because they go to a private school. Some of these, boys and girls have been playing with him since the 8th grade, and now they were seniors, and they had, chances to really, continue to grow as a team or whatever. And when everything gets changed like that, man, it's extremely sad.
So, I agree with everything you said. All of those things are. They're factual, and they're emotional. It comes from an emotional standpoint. I mean, we all get that way. We all felt that way about high school football. But let me give you a different take on this, and this is from the CDC. And I don't want to bore you with coronavirus statistics for very long, but I'm going to give you a couple. The deaths from the coronavirus have fallen for 10 consecutive weeks. The effect, the mortality rate for those under 18 from the coronavirus is as close to zero as you can get. The number of people 18 and under that are affected by this in a severely adverse way is a very, very low number. In a lot of cases, it's 0.2%. We don't know everything about this virus, and I'm not trying to play doctor on the radio here, but the numbers that we have seen so far suggest to us that the risk is very low. It does not mean that there are not protocols. It does not mean that there are not procedures that they have to follow. But giving you just those two numbers, and then let me make sure I get this quote right. It says, despite the comprehensive guidance of the Department of Education and the CDC guidelines, I don't believe that the conditioning activities can be conducted safely. Well, the Department of Education and the CDC are who we're supposed to be following, right?
Yeah.
So these are the professional opinions. I mean, Lord knows we have been guided by professional opinions, and some of them have been wrong. A lot of them have been wrong. Okay. I have been, driven crazy by some of the recommendations, and a lot of people have been driven out of their jobs by this. And I don't want to get into all of the, the ramifications of the shutdown and all that stuff. Everybody's living this, together. But if they're going to take the Department of Education and they're going to give you what, in his words, are a comprehensive report, and they're going to give you the CDC, and they're going to give you, in his words, a comprehensive report, and all of these people are into this thing trying to figure out, hey, can we send these kids back to school, and can they compete in sports safely? And we're seeing the rates in which it affects kids. Then I'm sorry, I'm going to take their word for it. I'm going to take their recommendations. And that one may come back to bite me in the behind, because they may very well say something different about college sports a month from now. But don't we have to, at some point, have to learn how to live with the virus? And have to work towards, I'm not going to say the word normal, God forbid, but towards how do you get me to, how can we work this? Because frankly, I'm going to try to hold it here. Because I know Scone's got plenty to say on this. I'm tired of politicians just saying the answer is send everybody home. I'm really tired of that. There may be a time where we get to that, and whether it be in the workplace, in our schools, whatever, but this throw your hands up in the air and say, man, there's a little bit of risk. We got to send everybody home, man. I'm sorry. I think that's the wrong approach. I think it's a defeatist approach.
Is it a little bit more work? Absolutely. You got to have different protocols in place. We talked about my youth football camp coming up this weekend yesterday, right? Well, my youth football camp is typically in April. Well, we had to move it back to July. It's going to look different. Typically, we have well over 100, campers at this camp. Well, we're not going to have that many because we have to keep the numbers down. The stations are going to look a little bit different. We're going to have masks. We're going to have hand sanitizer. We are lucky. We're big enough where we can have 3 areas where nobody's too close to each other. That's different. But you know what? It takes a little bit of work, but that is what is going to be the safest for their campers. And we're still going to have the camp. We're still going to get those things done. And so, yes, there might be a little bit more work. There might be a little bit more man hours put into this, but we have to do everything we can. And I know that, some things are going to be harder than others, but I just can't stress enough what building blocks this is for high school athletics, for everyone involved, coaches, players, staff, everybody involved. This is a lot of livelihoods as well that we're not talking about. In some of these public schools, they're the coaches of these sports, and some teach class, some don't. But this is a livelihood for a lot of people.
They use football season for fundraisers for any of those other things that go on at the school.
A couple.
So you see that 55-gallon drum at the head of the stairs when you came in today?
Mm-hmm.
It's hand sanitizer. We're buying it in bulk here.
It is.
Got to save some money where you can.
That's right.
It's budgetary stuff. Chris Doering is with us when we come back. This is Hangin' with Hester, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, I told you yesterday we were excited to have Baton Rouge Foundation Repair hop on with us on the show. And if you're considering buying a house that has foundation problems, well, some companies say their work will fail if there's poor drainage around your slab, and you might ask to be has to be paying twice, right? We know there's going to be poor drainage. We know the conditions in South Louisiana. Well, let Baton Rouge Foundation Repairs water shield pilings that are engineered to withstand that poor drainage conditions work for you. Baton Rouge Foundation Repair has been servicing the greater Baton Rouge area for more than 22 years, and the owner, Michael LaMonica, is a lifelong resident of Baton Rouge. The first thing he said when I met with him, man, the Baton Rouge community means so much to him. He wants to make sure that you're getting the right work done to your home and your foundation. Don't be asked to pay twice for your foundation repair work. Get Baton Rouge Foundation Repairs water shield pilings and estimates. Well, they're always free. Baton Rouge Foundation Repair can be reached at 225-275-0101. That's 225-275-0101 or at brfoundation.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey, T-Bob, sports wouldn't be the same without the die-hard fans, so we're highlighting the fans that do it the most.
Every week, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge brings you the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week. Check it out, 1045ESPN.com.
It's the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes, you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Hi, this is Chance Inman, President and Chief Operating Officer for Janney King Gulf Coast. Here are some ways to protect yourself and those around you from the coronavirus. Wash your hands often and thoroughly. Cover coughs and sneezes with your elbow. Disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly. Use non-contact methods for greeting others. And avoid touching your face. Following these steps, as well as social distancing, should help all of us stay healthy.
Here at the Big Squeezy, we continue to serve the Baton Rouge and Southeast Louisiana areas during these troubling times. We are dedicated to providing you healthy food items to help you live your best life. From our cold-pressed juices to our delicious smoothies, let the Big Squeezy keep you going. Stay active, stay happy, and let us help you stay healthy. Visit us at our locations and also inside of Alexander's and Mathern's grocery stores or online at thebigsqueezy.com.
Richards Honda is constantly looking for smart ways to make things easier for you. So we created our buy from home option. It's the easiest, most convenient way to shop for a car, all from the comforts and safety of your own home. Just log on to richardshonda.com, click on the buy from home button, and with a few simple steps, your new or pre-owned car will be ready for pickup or delivered right to your door. It's fast, easy, and smart. Try it today at richardshonda.com.
EST or Facebook Live or subscribe to the YouTube page 1045 ESPN.
All right, excited to welcome on my guy, SEC Network, SiriusXM, former Florida Gator and longtime NFL receiver, Chris Doering, to the show. CD, what's up, brother?
Hey, man, good to be on with you. You piqued my interest there in the break. I'm listening to the commercials, man. I think I need some of that
that facial rejuvenation stuff going on, man. I'm feeling a little old here, dude. I need some pep in my face before we get back on television this fall, bro.
CD, chill out. I see you all the time on our Sirius show. You're in shape. You're the best looking 45-year-old I've ever seen. So chill out with all that. You know you're good.
I appreciate you going on the low side of the age. PB always hits me up at 52. I'm 47. I love the rounding down, man. I appreciate that.
I know what that means to you. How about that? So I went ahead and I rounded down a little bit. Hey, speaking of PB, part-time Peter Burns. I mean, you heard his promo here. He's got a Sunday morning show. He's doing Levitard today. I mean, you can't hide money, I guess.
I told him yesterday when we did our show that on the text chain between you and I and Frank, we've just been killing him of late. And he's not only part-time Pete, he's very sensitive as well. He's not as sensitive as Frank Fowler, but very sensitive to criticism too. So he took exception to the fact that we've blistered him for being part-time Pete again. He said it was actually because of his son who had some respiratory issues and went to the hospital. And I said, yeah. That was early in the week. You turned it into an extended period of time leading off into the 4th of July weekend. So we know what his deal is, bro.
Yeah, and I hope you're listening, Peter Burns. All right, let's talk a little SEC football. You and I had a conversation about, media days and not having media days, but we always enjoyed seeing which coaches and players came in with the most confidence.
Yeah.
And we talked about what Florida could have walked into media days this year, and Dan Mullen and Kyle Trask, in my opinion, could have had some of the most confidence walking in to that building than anybody, because right now when you look at the Florida Gators on paper, they are right there on the heels of the Georgia Bulldogs. A lot of people, CD, though, want to know how they replace the receivers that they lost. And I know that you've been doing a breakdown of SEC receivers coming up here on the SEC network. What do you see from the Florida Gator receivers coming back this year?
Well, first of all, let me say this. You mentioned confidence. Nobody exudes as much confidence as Dan Mullen does. And that actually was something that put off a lot of Gator fans back when he was the offensive coordinator. A lot of people thought it was maybe a little unfounded confidence, but I think he's proven the fact that he is definitely worthy of having the confidence and the swag that he walks around with. And I thought that confidence really permeated throughout the team in Florida's first 2 years, because let's not forget, he inherited a team that went 4-7 before the year he took over, and that team got to double-digit wins in each of the last 2 years. They really have started to believe in themselves, and now they're actually putting talent together, across the board in some of the recruiting classes the last couple of years that should be able to take their performance to the next level with that confidence. So I'm excited about this year as a Florida alum. As you mentioned, this is a group of receivers for Florida that lost, their top 4 pass catchers, but yet are fortunate enough to be able to replace those guys with some really talented, if not already proven, receivers. So look at Trayvon Grimes. I mean, this is a guy that transferred from Ohio State a couple years back. He's got the body. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. Hasn't quite had the consistency that Florida fans would like to see from him, but he's a guy that certainly looks the part and at times has flashed the part, and I think he's going to have a season that's kind of able to break out and be a little bit more consistent this year. I also think that Jacob Copeland, he's another highly recruited receiver here in the last couple of years for Dan Mullen that had a really good kind of breakout game against South Carolina last year, and then had some flashes of some good plays and some drops from time to time. But I think that he's another one that you're going to look at and hear his name a little bit more. And I mentioned it to you the other day, Hess. I think Kyle Pitts has a chance to be the best tight end in not only the SEC but in college football. I mean, this guy is a mismatch. He's a problem. He's 6'6", 240 pounds. He actually had a really good game against LSU there in Baton Rouge last year. They move him around an awful lot. He can play with his hand on the ground. He can play as a flex tight end. He can line up out wide like Gronkowski and create some matchup issues. Like, who do you cover him with, a smaller corner, or do you cover him with a bigger, strong safety or outside linebacker type that's going to be in some trouble out there in space? So I think those are 3 guys that you can look for Kyle Trask to target a lot this year, as well as Kadarius Toney, who was considered to be an X factor in his first couple seasons at Florida, was hurt last year, but he's coming back, and I think he's going to be one of the most explosive weapons in the SEC this year as well.
CD, we know that LSU completely changed what they did a year ago, and their offense set every record you could possibly set. And when you look at their receiver room, which we'll get to later, it's as stacked as anybody in the country. But Georgia's trying to do that right now, right? They bring in Todd Monken. They're trying to go to the same offense that LSU had. They're trying to have the high-powered offense with all the offensive weapons. And we know what Georgia has offensively at the running back position, right?
Yeah.
What do they have at the receiver position? We know Pickens is a guy that can be a little hot-headed at times, but he can be a stud when he's out there playing. But do they have enough offensive talent out there at receiver, at tight end, to be able to pull off what LSU did a year ago?
I think their question, it's a legitimate question. It's very similar to the question heading into last year. And I mentioned Florida losing four of their top pass catchers. Georgia last year, remember, before the season, lost their top 5 pass catchers. It was a question that a lot of people kind of poo-pooed, like, they'll find guys to plug and play. But it was a problem last year. I think a lot of what you saw from Jake Fromm's backslide was because of the receivers, the lack of chemistry he had with those guys, the lack of trust that he had with those guys, their inability to separate, the offensive play calling that didn't give them a lot of opportunity to separate. So there are a lot of questions that I think that that they're going to have to find out, much like last year, about who we can depend on and how we can develop trust with whoever ends up starting at the quarterback spot for Georgia. But I do think that George Pickens is a highly recruited player that, again, last year got better and better as the year went on. I'm interested about Dominic Blaylock, though. This was a guy that hurt his knee there at the end of the year. How healthy is he? How is he able to come back without having the benefit of any sort of spring practice to kind of bang the rust off? So I think that's a guy we need to keep our eye on. And the tight end spot has always been a productive position for Georgia's offense. Some big question marks at that spot with guys that we really know very little about heading into the year.
I'm not going to suggest that Georgia would have won the game, but there's some big drops in that first half, and Pickens made a difference in the second half. Now, LSU had control of the game, but my goodness, if Pickens plays in the first half and he catches a couple of those balls, the game at least, Chris, feels a little bit different maybe heading into the half. I think LSU still wins, but if there's a couple of plays to be made there, if Pickens is there in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I go back over the last couple of years, in the SEC. Think about the Mississippi State game when Florida went to Starkville a couple of years ago. Big drop right before, I think right coming out of halftime, that was probably a touchdown on a post route that I believe it was Guidry that dropped that one. But it ended up changing the complexion of the game. And to your point, early in the game, Georgia had a guy behind LSU's secondary running wide open, and Fromm throws a nice ball that gets dropped there as well. So we all know, everyone here on this call knows the importance of the wide receiver position. I mean, there's no a more important position on the football field, and those guys have got to step up because it's a momentum-changing situation when a guy drops a deep ball that in all rights should be a touchdown.
Chris, another guy that I'm watching this year, Elijah Moore is known as the guy that went to the urinal in the end zone for Ole Miss. But this guy caught 67 balls last year. He caught more balls than the rest of the Ole Miss receivers combined. And now you insert Lane Kiffin into the equation. Outside of Pickens, I'm not sure there's anybody else that can improve his numbers more than Elijah Moore.
But I think definitely looking forward to having the opportunity in Lane Kiffin's offense to do so. One of the things that Hester and I talked about the other day is how they figure out a way to marry the passing game with the threat of John Rice Plumlee's running ability. I mean, if he can develop a little bit more accuracy and the receivers can be a little more reliable, I mean, they're going to have one-on-one opportunities because defenses are going to have to find a way to defend John Rice Plumlee's ability to run in some of the zone read stuff and in some of the read option stuff, RPO stuff. But he's also going to have to – teams are going to have to play a little bit more conservatively, possibly with more zone coverages just to keep eyes on him and not let him scramble with defensive backs having their backs turned to the quarterback. So I think it will give more opportunity for Elijah Moore. But, I mean, Hester and I talked about it last week, that this receiving core in Oxford, for some reason, they're able to really recruit well at that receiver position. They seem to always be stacked with a bunch of talented guys. And if you look this year, not only does Elijah Moore have a chance to have a great season, we forget about Braylon Sanders. And I think Jonathan Mingo has an opportunity to be a beneficiary of this improved passing game that Lane Kiffin's going to bring. So I think it'll be another fun year for Ole Miss fans as they watch that offense. Hopefully they can have a little bit of defensive support to give them more opportunity to win football games late.
Catching up with Chris Doering of the SEC Network and Sirius XM Radio here on Hangin with Hester and Hanny. CD, let's go ahead and start talking about the LSU receivers. You and I have talked about it so much. Justin Jefferson was such a key part to this offense, the dig routes, everything he did over the middle of the football field. But you still get back the Blitnikoff award-winning Jamar Chase. You get back Terrace Marshall, who we both are very high on, and also Racey McMath. And I know we've talked about Racey McMath a little bit. He, at times last year, whenever they had to have double bracket coverage on one of the receivers, Racey McMath was a guy that in the Mississippi State game and other moments had some big catches. He looks like he's going to be the third receiver on this team. So as you break down the LSU receiver room, how do you view it this year compared to last year?
First of all, I always appreciate the insight from you, my friend. You made me look smart last year because you told me how good Jamar Chase was going to be. So I was singing his praises before the season, and I owe all of that to you. But I was, as you noted at the beginning of the interview, I've been doing a little bit of breakdown for returning receiving stars heading into this year, and Jamar Chase is my number one guy. I actually forgot, as I'm watching all of his cut-ups from last year, not only does this guy, you think about him being as a deep ball threat on the outside, but there are a ton of catches that he has over the middle of the field, whether we're talking about some of the RPO stuff on the bender from the inside or just called slants or shallow crosses. Like, I love the way that Steve Ensminger found ways to get him the football and allow him to use his athleticism after the catch. So I'm excited about what Jamar Chase brings. And I'm excited about a healthy Terrace Marshall because let's not forget the beginning of the season, this was a guy that came out of the gates faster than anybody else in that LSU receiving room, had multiple touchdowns in the first couple games. And I was not aware of it until I started to get on that LSU train at the end of the season when we're traveling all over the country to follow their success in the SEC championship game in the in the semifinals and then the finals. But at some of those media days, Terrace Marshall's a big dude. I mean, this guy is every bit my height plus much thicker than I am. So I look at him as being a real matchup issue, and I'm excited about. He seems like such a nice guy and soft-spoken, and I'm excited about him having the opportunity to kind of fill the void that Justin Jefferson leaves as he departs to the NFL.
CD, how important is it for LSU to have a tight end? Thaddeus Moss last year was such a key part of this offense. Now, he set all the tight end records at LSU, but the stats aren't eye-popping. They were really good as far as no-drop passes. You could always count on him, but they just needed a little bit from the tight end position, right? They didn't need him to be the superstar guy. Well, you get the number one tight end coming in the country in Eric Gilbert, the highest-rated tight end in 247 Sports history. As a freshman, a lot of people assume he's going to have an impact, but how important is it to have that tight end in this passing offense for LSU?
I think it's very important. I mean, a tight end can be a quarterback safety blanket, security blanket. I mean, we've seen it time and time again where a quarterback has a good rapport with that tight end, where he's able to operate in the middle of the field. He's able to use his body and maybe create a little bit of a target where it's almost like playing basketball, where you're boxing a guy out. And I think that's why you've seen so many guys make that transition from playing college basketball to playing tight end in the NFL. And so I do think it's an important position. I think it's one that it requires trust. So I'm anxious to see how quickly Gilbert can gain the trust of Miles Brennan, presumably, because without that trust, I think that's one of the things you saw from Joe Burrow and really all, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you've talked about how much he could trust him and knowing where he was going to be, but I think the same was true with Thaddeus Moss. And so I do think that may take some time in the preseason, and unfortunately they didn't get an opportunity to acclimate much in the spring with spring practice being canceled. But I love the tight end position. I had a chance to play a lot of that kind of at Florida, where I was, a little bit of a stand-up tight end at times and being able to operate in the middle of the field. And so it definitely creates some opportunities that if quarterbacks are able to read what the coverages are dictating, and let's be honest, a lot of these coverages are going to dictate rolling an extra guy over the top to defend Jamar Chase. I think that's going to leave some one-on-one opportunities for guys like Terrace Marshall and potentially Eric Gilbert at the tight end spot.
Chris Doering is our guest. Chris, give us a guy under the radar that we haven't talked about yet, somebody that not a lot of people know his name right now, but by the end of October, everybody will.
Well, I'll tell you somebody, and I'm including this guy in my breakdown. Everybody knows his name, but everybody knows his name more so for his ability in the return game, and that's Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle has a chance to have a humongous season for Alabama It was interesting because it was often talked about as you go back and watch some of the broadcasts last year. Everybody talked about the big three with Judy Ruggs and Devontae Smith, and they forgot about Jalen Waddle. But this is a guy with the ball in his hands that has something you can't coach, and that's elite speed. The breakdown I'm doing on him actually is just showing how underappreciated and under-respected his speed is when defenses try to take an angle to cut him off on a short curl route where he turns the ball at the field, or a shallow cross where he gets to the edge. These defenders, they don't take the right angles because they don't understand just how fast Jalen Waddle is. So I think moving into a role as more of a starting wide receiver this year for Alabama, I think he's going to be a guy that not only continues to do what he does in the return game, but becomes a real threat as a every down receiver in that offense.
All right, CD, I've got one more for you. And listen, I know we're on in Baton Rouge. I know you and I are boys, but you can answer it honestly. If I tell you can pick the LSU receiver room or the Alabama receiving room, which one are you picking?
Oh, man. Shoot. Last year I would have gone with Alabama just because I think they were a little bit deeper. I'm going to actually go – man, you put me on the spot here.
Remember, you're on in Baton Rouge. Remember, we're friends.
I know. It's LSU. I mean, it's LSU all day long, right? I mean, yeah. I think what we're going to see in the first round of the NFL draft next year is the top two guys from LSU going in the first round and the top two guys from Alabama going in the first round. And we'll be debating this argument all the way through the end of next April.
All right, he is Chris Doering, SiriusXM SEC Network, and one of my friends and co-hosts there on SEC this morning on SiriusXM. CD, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, there he is, Chris Doering.
All right, we'll be back here, and you can watch us, of course, on CST, Facebook Live, and on our YouTube channel. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal, together.
Contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Good catching up with Chris Doering. We're talking SEC wide receivers, but what I pulled out of that, you got some pretty strong thoughts about Georgia.
I do, and I'm not saying that they can't go out there and all the changes, Hanny, that they make can't work. I'm not saying that, but when you make wholesale changes like that, it tells me you realize you had to do something because you realize your window might not be as open as it was a year ago. You bring in Todd Monken, and Todd Monken was here as a receivers coach. I think a lot of LSU fans know Todd Monken. They know his history. He's been the head coach at Southern Miss, the offensive coordinator in NFL with the Bucs and the Browns. Very, very innovative offensive mind, but that's completely different than what you've done in the past. Sam Pittman, he was your offensive line coach. You had one of the best offensive lines in the country. He's now at Arkansas. We know that. Matt Luke is now in as your offensive line coach. Okay, James Coley, who was your coordinator, well, now he's back with Jimbo at Texas A&M, right? So you make all of those changes. And then you're talking about, well, Jamie Newman. You go get him from Wake Forest. Jamie Newman was a nice player at Wake Forest. How does that translate to the SEC? We don't know. We'll find out. You get JT Daniels from USC, right? So you've got all these changes. Not to mention you lost that offensive line to the NFL draft. You lost DeAndre Swift to the NFL draft. I think defensively they've got a really nice setup, but offensively you're changing a lot of parts. And again, just because LSU did it, that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. Kellen Mond at A&M saying, oh, well, if LSU can do it, well, we can have the one-year change. Hey, pump the brakes. LSU had the perfect storm of coaches and talent and scheme, and it was the right time for them. How long have we been talking about LSU changing their offense, right? So, and in 2018, they kind of had a bridge version, right? They didn't have the old, 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. They had kind of a married system with both kind of concepts, and that was a better offensive year for them in 2018. And then 2019, they take off. And so because another team did it, don't just assume that you can do it. I think Georgia still has a ton of question marks. Can they answer those question marks? Yeah, absolutely. They can answer them. I think Pickens is a very nice receiver, right? Everybody wanted him here at LSU, but he's also he's got a little bit of a temper. And we saw him get in a fight and get suspended before the LSU game. Can they mold him into being that leader on offense? That's yet to be seen. And so I personally think, and y'all know how I feel about this, the Florida Gators, I'm going to say a couple nice things about them. I think they are set up to not only challenge Georgia, but they have every bit as much talent as the Georgia Bulldogs. I truly believe that as far as who they have ready to play right now. Now, in the next coming years, what Georgia's done recruiting, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the freshmen that aren't ready to play. I think Kyle Trask is a really good quarterback. I think he came into Tiger Stadium last year and opened some eyes on a bum knee. I think he's one of the most experienced quarterbacks, which is crazy to say when you say it out loud, but he's one of the more experienced quarterbacks because we lost so much talent and depth there at quarterback in the SEC. So I think the Florida Gators, if they can get over the Jacksonville hump, that's the big question mark. because they could lose the game against LSU, Hanny, and still be okay. That's a West-East situation. The game in Jacksonville, that's their big matchup. They're extremely talented over at Florida. And Doering just laid out the offensive weapons. And so I think as far as confidence, this is the first time in a long time I think Florida feels like they can beat Georgia.
So if the talent gap still favors Georgia, and I think it does.
It does.
That gap has dwindled. Okay?
It has.
It's less now. And if there is an advantage under the headsets, it's on the blue and orange.
Oh, no question about it.
You're much better there.
I think Todd Grantham is one of the best coordinators in college football. And I think Dan Mullen can get the most out of the least amount of talent, right? And he's done a fantastic job. What he did with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State kind of transformed his career. He got, serviceable play out of Felipe Franks, which God bless you if you could do that, right? And so I think they've got a really nice setup at their coordinator positions. And when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of it being a small margin, if you can have the guy on the headset that has 2 or 3 better ball plays in those crunch moments, then I think that favors Florida right now.
It favors Florida by a lot. If the talent were equal, if take these two teams out, give me 85 football players and they're exactly equal in talent, Mullen's going to beat Smart 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So. There's no question in my mind. The thing is, when you talk about this is when you make these wholesale changes, you have to make this. My question to you would be, or else what? Because I've seen these. Because Georgia is a top 10 program. They're top 10 talent. They've had top 10 results the last several years. So what happens if they have another one of those years? What happens if they beat everybody except Alabama, or everybody except Alabama and Florida, and they go 10-2 and they go to a bowl game and they win that game and they're 11-2 and they finish number 6 in the country? Then aren't we having this same comment? Because Kirby Smart's not getting fired.
It's Mark Richt. That's who it is, though.
Well, and they put up. I say they put up with Mark Richt. Mark Richt had a hell of a run there.
Yeah.
I mean, he won a lot of games, won a couple of SEC titles, and he was there for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's all that happens.
Right.
It's not one of those deals where you got to win or else. Like Gus Malzahn, he's probably got to win or else. They'll fire him.
Yeah.
I went 10-2. Did you beat Alabama? No. Did you beat LSU? No. Goodbye.
Yeah.
That or did you beat Georgia?
Georgia,
you got to win 2 out of those 3
Somehow they can
games.
beat Alabama when nobody else.
You got to win 2 of those 3 games, or they're going to run Gus off. Okay, but Georgia's in that same position as A&M is. A&M, no. Wait, let me back up on that because that sounded bad. As soon as I said it, it sounded bad. In that their coach is not under any fire to be fired. He is under fire to do better than he has done. Mm-hmm. And for Georgia, it's a rung up from A&M. For Georgia, it's, hey, you've been a top 10 team, and one year you were a top 3 team. Right. We need you to be the number 1 team. For A&M, it's you've been a top 25 team. Yeah. We would like you to get into the top 10.
Top 10, yeah.
But your coaches are not going anywhere.
I don't think they're going anywhere because of the contracts and because they have, Kirby's been very successful. They have not gotten over the hump. But what's now the expectation of Georgia? Well, it's championship or bust. And so sometimes that can get you in trouble. We've seen, look, Marty Schottenheimer, when he was with the Chargers, like he lost 1 game 1 year, 2 games 1 year and got fired because he lost in the playoffs. And that's when they hired Norv Turner, right? They couldn't get past the Patriots in the playoffs. And so you can win a lot of games, Hanny, but if you don't win the big one, and it doesn't help that since you've won a national title, which, by the way, I was -5 last time they won a national title. Florida's won a couple. Tennessee's won 1 with T. Martin, right? LSU's won 3. Alabama's won a bunch. Auburn's won 1. That doesn't help you. All the other big boys in the SEC, well, they've won 1. And not only have they won 1, it hasn't been that far ago, right? Tennessee was the farthest in the late 90s there, but every other school that I just mentioned, they've won 1 in the 2000s, multiple championships in the 2000s. And if you want to keep up with the Joneses, which Georgia thinks they're in the top tier of the SEC, would we all agree with that?
Well, yeah, they are.
Yeah, and you haven't won a championship in 40 years. That's a problem, and that's why the expectation level of Georgia, because they have the highest recruiting budget, more than anybody in the country. They pay their coaches top tier, right? They're in one of the biggest hotbeds in high school football, so they can always recruit. Well, all that's great. You've got a lot of talented teams, and you've won the East a ton of times. And Georgia beat the brakes off of us in 2005 to win the SEC, right? I understand that. They've won SEC titles, but you don't have the big one. You don't have the national championship to show when every other blue blood in the SEC in recent memory, they've got them.
Okay, but aren't they more in a situation like Mac Brown was before they finally broke through? I mean, they were winning 9-10 games a year back when we were playing 11 games a year, but they couldn't beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma got them every time it really mattered until Vince Young got there and they finally broke through. Or Florida State, when they had run off from 87 to 96, they had run off. It was ended up more than that, but I'm using 96 for a reason. They had won 10 games a year, 11 games a lot of those years. They were a top 5 team every one of those years, but they hadn't yet won a national title. I'm sorry, 93, not 96. But they hadn't yet won a national title. And Miami had won at 3, I believe, at that point. Tennessee, when Phil Fulmer was there, they beat everybody except they couldn't beat Spurrier.
Right.
And what happened? They were frustrated, but they hung in there with those guys, and eventually all of those guys won a national title. And that's the way I feel about Georgia. Okay. Yeah, they're going to be frustrated if they go 10-2. They're going to be frustrated if they go 11-1. They're going to be frustrated if they can't win that national title. But not enough to make another big wholesale move. If I'm wrong, I'll be happy to say it. But you get on that treadmill and you're really good, but you're not the best. That's where Georgia is right now. They're on that treadmill.
So I agree with you there, and you have to turn at least one of them into a championship, because we used to say the same thing about the Florida Gators, right? In 1991, they win the Sugar Bowl. Then they win the Gator Bowl. They win the Sugar again. Then they lose the Sugar Bowl in 94. Then they get housed in 95. Nebraska absolutely embarrassed them.
One of the best teams
I can
ever.
say that now that Chris Doering's off the air, because that was his senior year. That was their first loss of the year. But it seemed like, man, Florida's getting all these Sugar Bowls, all the Fiesta Bowls, right? But they can't win the big one. Well, then the next year they win the big one. They win the Sugar Bowl. They win the national title. Look at the Atlanta Braves. We talked about the Braves earlier in the show. 14 straight NL East championships. One title.
One title.
One title in 1995 against, God, very talented Indians team. We could talk about that team for a long time. So a lot of these teams, well, they get their one. Georgia's only got to get that one, but will they get that one? That's the key answer. You mentioned Tennessee. They finally got that one. And who would have thought it came with T. Martin and not Peyton Manning? But when all these other teams at least have that one that are surrounding you, the Auburn-Georgia rivalry, that's a big deal. Well, Auburn's got championships. LSU's been the recent top dog. Alabama's been the top dog.
That does ratchet up the pressure.
Them.
Sure. Ask us when we come back here, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, we're brought to you every single day by our title sponsor, Richards Honda. Of course, you can find them online at richardshonda.com. You can also find them physically at 13413 Millerville Greens Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Right now, if you're sitting at home or you're sitting in your office, you can go check out richardshonda.com, where you can do it all. I always tell you, in the bottom right corner of the website, you can have that conversation with sales. So any question you might have, they can answer it right there on the spot. In the bottom left corner of the website, they've got a clock, 24 days, 9 hours, 11 minutes left to save. So you can click on that view savings. It's going to pull up all the specials they have going on right now over at Richards Honda. But I would encourage you, get out of the house. Go see them at I-12 and Millerville, because they have over 700 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot right now. And no matter where you're at in your life, no matter what your needs are, they've got something that's going to fit you. You want a sedan? They've got plenty of sedans. If you're looking for a hybrid, they've got multiple hybrids. If you want a midsize SUV, they've got you covered from every single angle. Full size, minivan, truck, everything over at Richards Honda. Home, the warm and fuzzy.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I build a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
With Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
A few minutes left here. We go to Ask Us in the Bayou Ford huddle. Ask Hanny, do you not see the beauty of hunisms? Yeah, the creativity is it's funny. They're kind of like reverse Chuck Norris jokes.
Yes, that's a perfect way to say it, Hanny. Yeah. And then tomorrow you're probably going to get a lot of like Chuck Norrisisms because Flynn likes that aspect of it.
I'm going to do my research on the Loch Ness Monster.
You need to.
I've seen the pictures.
Meth gators, remember that?
Yeah, I've definitely
aliens,
seen the
UFOs.
Don't have to worry about the murder hornets anymore, though.
You don't.
The praying mantises took care of them.
That's exactly right.
Ask Us, beach or mountain summer vacation spot?
So this one's tough for me because I really enjoyed my time in Denver. I thought Denver was fantastic, Hanny. It would snow and then it'd be gone the next day because it's one of the sunniest places actually in the country. So the snow would melt. It wasn't dirty snow. Everything was clean. And the only part was it was my birthday in the middle of May, and it was snowing. And we had like a foot of snow in May. I got a little bit of a problem with that, so I'll go beach.
I'm going to say Vegas.
The desert?
Wait, was that
the desert was not a choice, Handy. You got to pick mountains or beach.
Well, there are mountains in the background. You just got to look past the casinos. When you get past the poker game, you can see the mountains.
So ideal vacation for Handy is going to Vegas for how long? But because you can't go to Vegas for like 10 days, you'll run out of money.
No, I've shortened the Vegas trips as years have gone along. You know one of the best vacations I ever took? This is going to sound stupid. I went to Cleveland. I'm not making this up.
Okay. We've only got 2 minutes. You've got to explain that.
Okay. I went to Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. Saw in a week 2 Jimmy Buffett concerts, the Reds, the Indians, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and a place called Cedar Point, which is the roller coaster capital of the United States. It's the best roller coaster park in the United States. That was my 7 days. There are worse things. It's just embarrassing to tell people that you went to Cleveland.
I mean, did Drew Carey book your trip?
No. I had a friend that lived in Indianapolis and went up and kind of hopscotched across Indiana and Ohio for a week. We saw Buffett twice, saw a couple of baseball games. I'd always wanted. What spurred the trip was I always wanted to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I finally did.
That was cool. So with my rookie year, every rookie class got a chance to go to Canton and check out the Pro Football Hall of Fame, where I saw a Shreveport Steamers USFL helmet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Little artifact.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was better.
It was.
It was awesome. Ask us, should we claim the 1908 championship? That's just one. I get asked this a lot. I really don't care.
There's a school in the SEC that Hunt Palmer enjoys that claims championships that they probably shouldn't. I actually think LSU has more claim to this one than Alabama has for some of theirs, but I'm okay with LSU not claiming it. It's fine. It's okay.
They do. But I kind of take a little pride in the fact that they don't, was it unanimous or was there, I hate to come out, but I don't really care that much.
It's Penn and LSU in 08, right?
Yeah.
Penn and, okay.
Ask us, let's see, of all the SEC coaches, which would leave the grocery cart in the parking lot and who would bring it back. I think Peter Burns was doing this earlier today. Another one. I got
Coach O would bring it back. There's no question about it. Just knowing Coach O.
Saban would leave it right in the middle of the well,
somebody would get it for him.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody he'd have like a little runner go and get it for him. Look, Lane's not bringing the cart back to the thing. Lane's leaving it right where it's at.
180s band concert to go to. Who you got?
Ooh, I love Journey. I'm a big like the original.
Yeah.
Original Journey.
Van Halen.
Van Halen over Van Hagar?
Well, it was 1985. It was a Van Hagar.
Okay.
But they played all the old Van Halen stuff, so that's pretty good. Stay tuned for AFR. Thanks to Cade Wazan, Paul O'Neill for producing today's show. For Jacob Hester, I'm Charles Hanagriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable,